I'm done, Ethan. Don't call me again. The text message glowed on the screen as rain hammered against the warehouse roof. Ethan Mercer stared at those 9 words, his calloused hands still dusty from inspecting concrete foundations. Most men in his position would have shrugged it off, just another failed relationship in a long string of disappointments. But Ethan wasn't most men. The woman who just walked away didn't know he was worth $3 billion. She didn't know his last name was stamped on half the building materials in the Pacific Northwest. She only knew he showed up to her cramped apartment smelling like sawdust and carrying cheap pizza. And somehow, that made losing her hurt worse than anything his money could fix. If you want to see how a billionaire who hides in warehouses wins back the woman who thinks he's just another broke contractor, stick with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The cafe smelled like burnt espresso and wet wool. Ethan sat in the back corner booth, the vinyl seat cracked beneath him, watching the door for someone he'd probably never recognize. His sister had set this up 3 weeks ago, insisting he needed to get back out there after his divorce finalized. He'd agreed mostly to shut her up, then immediately regretted it. The rain outside had turned Spokane's streets into rivers. Water streamed down the cafe windows, distorting the headlights passing by into abstract smears of yellow and red. Ethan checked his watch again, 7:45. His blind date was now 45 minutes late. "Can I get you anything else?" The waitress appeared beside his table, coffee pot in hand, her expression somewhere between pity and annoyance. "I'm good, thanks." She glanced at the empty seat across from him. "You sure your friend is coming?" "Probably not," Ethan admitted. The waitress refilled his cup anyway, even though he hadn't touched the last one. He appreciated the gesture. Most people in this city had no idea who he was, which was exactly how he preferred it. The Mercer family name carried weight in certain circles: real estate development, construction materials, commercial property. But Ethan himself looked nothing like the Forbes profile photos his PR team kept trying to make him update. Tonight he wore old jeans with concrete dust still clinging to the knees, a faded flannel shirt, and work boots that had seen better days. His dark hair needed a cut. His jaw needed a shave. He looked exactly like what he'd been doing all afternoon, crawling through an unfinished warehouse development in the industrial district, checking welds and arguing with contractors about load-bearing specifications. His phone buzzed. A text from his sister. "How's it going?" "She didn't show," he typed back. "What? Are you sure you're at the right place?" "Yeah. Been here almost an hour." "Ethan, I swear to God, if you're sitting in some construction site pretending—" He didn't bother responding. Rachel meant well, but she didn't understand that he wasn't avoiding dating because he was scared. He was avoiding it because every woman his sister introduced him to wanted the same thing: access to the Mercer fortune, invitations to the right parties, a photo op at charity galas. None of them wanted the guy who got genuinely excited about proper foundation drainage or spent his Saturdays teaching his 8-year-old son how to use a level. The cafe door crashed open. A woman stumbled inside, absolutely drenched, her dark hair plastered to her face and neck. She clutched the hand of a small girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, who looked equally soaked but somehow less miserable about it. The girl wore a bright yellow raincoat and red boots, and her eyes swept the cafe with open curiosity, while the woman looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. "Shit," the woman muttered, loud enough for Ethan to hear from across the room. She glanced around frantically, then spotted him in the back booth. Their eyes met. She looked absolutely mortified. Ethan realized with a sinking sensation in his chest that this was his date. The woman approached slowly, the little girl's hand still firmly in hers. Up close, Ethan could see she was about 30, with the kind of face that probably looked kind when it wasn't currently twisted in embarrassment. Her jacket was cheap, definitely not waterproof, and her jeans were soaked through at the knees where she must have knelt in a puddle. "Ethan?" Her voice came out rough, like she'd been yelling over traffic. "Yeah, Clara? I'm so sorry." She didn't sit down. The little girl did, though, sliding into the booth across from him and immediately grabbing a menu with wet fingers. "My babysitter canceled literally 45 minutes ago, and I couldn't just leave Lily alone, and I should have texted, but my phone died and—" She stopped, pressing her palm against her forehead. "I'm a complete disaster. You should just go. I'm sorry I wasted your time." The girl, Lily, looked up from the menu and her hands moved in quick, fluid gestures. Clara's entire demeanor shifted. Her hands moved too, responding in sign language with the kind of automatic grace that came from years of practice. Ethan watched them both, his brain trying to catch up with what was happening. "She wants to know if you're my boyfriend," Clara said finally, her cheeks flushing deeper red. "I told her no, I don't even know what to call this." "A blind date," Ethan supplied. "Your first one in a while?" "My first one in 3 years." Clara laughed, but it sounded more like a trapped animal than anything joyful, which should have been my sign that I'm not equipped for this anymore. Lily's hands moved again. This time she looked directly at Ethan while she signed, her expression serious. "What did she say?" Ethan asked. Clara hesitated. "She said you have kind eyes." Something shifted in Ethan's chest. He looked at the little girl, really looked at her, and saw someone who'd learned to read people carefully, the way kids do when they can't afford to make mistakes about who's safe. "Tell her thank you," he said. Clara's hands moved. Lily smiled, small and cautious. "Look," Clara said, "you really don't have to stay. I know this is weird and—" "Sit down," Ethan interrupted gently. "You're both soaked. At least have something hot to drink." Clara looked like she wanted to argue, but Lily was already peeling off her wet raincoat and making herself comfortable. After a moment, Clara slid into the booth beside her niece, moving like someone who expected the furniture to reject her. The waitress reappeared, clearly delighted by this development. "What can I get you ladies?" "Hot chocolate," Lily signed. Clara translated automatically. "Make that 2, Clara added. "And maybe some fries?" "Coming right up." They sat in awkward silence for a moment. Ethan watched Clara try to smooth her wet hair back from her face, a completely futile gesture that somehow made her look more human, not less. "So," he said finally, "babysitter flaked?" "That's a generous way to put it," Clara muttered. "She texted me 90 minutes ago saying her boyfriend surprised her with concert tickets. Just completely bailed. And before you ask, no, I don't have a backup. I don't have backup for anything, actually. I'm basically one minor catastrophe away from total collapse at all times." Lily's hands moved. Clara responded, then translated. "She says that's dramatic." "She's not wrong," Clara admitted, managing a weak smile. "How old is she?" Ethan asked. 7, almost 8. "She's yours?" The question came out wrong, too blunt, but Clara didn't seem offended. "My niece. I'm raising her. Long story." Lily tugged on Clara's sleeve, signing something quickly. "No, you can't have ice cream before dinner," Clara signed back. "We literally just talked about this." Ethan found himself smiling despite the strangeness of the situation. There was something grounding about watching them interact, the easy rhythm of their communication, the way Clara's whole posture softened when she looked at Lily. The hot chocolate arrived, along with a massive plate of fries that neither of them had actually ordered. The waitress winked at Lily, who grinned back. "So what do you do, Ethan?" Clara asked, wrapping her cold hands around the mug. "Rachel mentioned something about construction?" "I work in building materials," he said carefully. It was true enough. "Warehouses, mostly. Supply chain stuff. Pretty boring." "Sounds stable." "It pays the bills." "That's more than I can say." Clara immediately looked like she regretted the comment. "Sorry, I'm not usually this much of a mess. I swear I'm a semi-functional adult most days." "Most days?" "Okay. Some days." Lily laughed. A bright, clear sound that made several other customers turn and smile. Her hands moved rapidly and Clara's expression flickered between amusement and exasperation. "She says I'm functional at least 3 days a week," Clara translated, "which feels generous." "What do you do?" Ethan asked. "Graphic design, freelance, which is a fancy way of saying I panic about money constantly and take on too many projects I hate." She dragged a fry through ketchup without eating it. "I used to work for an agency, but the hours were impossible after I got Lily, so now I do logo designs for people who think $500 is too much, and also want 17 rounds of revisions." "Sounds frustrating." "It's survival." Clara finally ate the fry, then immediately grabbed another one. "What about you? Wife? Kids? Weird hobbies I should know about?" "Divorced. 1 son, Jake. He's 8. And I build furniture sometimes, if that counts as weird." "Build it how?" "Like with wood and tools." Ethan felt suddenly self-conscious. "Tables, chairs, bookshelves? Whatever needs making." Clara stared at him like he'd just admitted to speaking fluent Mandarin. You actually build furniture? Like from scratch? Yeah? That's insane. Who even knows how to do that anymore? I taught myself mostly YouTube videos and a lot of mistakes. Lily signed something, her expression curious. She wants to know if you'd build her a bookshelf, Clara said. Clara, Ethan could see the panic in her eyes. She's just being, Lily, stop. But Ethan was already nodding. Sure, if your aunt says it's okay. The panic in Clara's face intensified. You don't have to do that. I know. We can't pay you. I didn't ask you to. Clara looked like she wanted to argue more, but Lily was beaming now, signing enthusiastically about where the bookshelf should go and how many shelves it needed. They stayed at the cafe for another hour. Ethan learned that Clara was 30, originally from Seattle, and had moved to Spokane 2 years ago for cheaper rent. That she drank her coffee black, but her hot chocolate needed extra marshmallows. That she'd been teaching herself sign language since Lily was 3, when her younger sister first got the diagnosis, and then promptly started avoiding dealing with any of it. He learned that Lily loved art but hated math, that she wanted a dog but they weren't allowed pets in the apartment, and that she had opinions about everything from pizza toppings to what color notebook was objectively superior. He didn't learn much about why Clara was raising Lily instead of her sister, and he didn't push. When they finally stood to leave, the rain had softened to a drizzle. Clara tried to pay for their food, but Ethan had already handed cash to the waitress while she was in the bathroom with Lily. You didn't have to do that, Clara said, but her protest sounded automatic rather than genuine. I know. Outside, the sidewalk gleamed with reflected streetlights. Lily jumped in a puddle, and Clara didn't even try to stop her. So, Clara said, shoving her hands in her jacket pockets, this was probably the weirdest first date in human history. Top 5, at least. She laughed, and this time it sounded real. Thanks for not running away screaming. Thanks for showing up. 45 minutes late with a wet child. Better late than never. They stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither quite ready to leave, but both unsure how to extend the evening. Lily signed something, looking between them with exaggerated innocence. Clara's face went pink. She wants to know if you're going to kiss me goodbye. Clara. Ethan couldn't tell if he was more amused or mortified. I'm going to die, Clara muttered. I'm actually going to die right here on this sidewalk. Lily giggled and grabbed Clara's hand, tugging her toward the street. I should go, Clara said quickly, before she embarrasses me further. Can I call you? The question came out before Ethan could second-guess it. Clara looked surprised. Seriously? Yeah. Even after all this? She gestured vaguely at herself, at Lily, at the general chaos of the evening, especially after all this. She studied his face like she was trying to figure out if he was messing with her. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. Okay. Yeah. Call me. They exchanged numbers. Lily waved goodbye with both hands, and then they were gone, disappearing around the corner into the rainy Spokane night. Ethan stood there for a moment longer, his phone in his hand, watching the empty street. His sister called exactly 90 seconds later. Well? Rachel demanded before he even said hello. How was she? Did you like her? Was it awful? Are you going to see her again? It was fine. Fine. What does that mean? Ethan, I need details. She showed up late with her niece. We had coffee and fries. I'm seeing her again. Silence on the other end, then, wait, you're seeing her again? Yeah. You never see them again? Well, this time I am. Oh my God, Rachel breathed. You actually like her. Ethan didn't answer, which was answer enough. What's she like? What does she do? Did you tell her about... I have to go, Rach. Ethan. He hung up and headed for his truck, parked 3 blocks away. The rain had picked up again, soaking through his flannel, but he didn't really care. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Clara, just making sure you didn't give me a fake number. He saved her contact and typed back, not fake, drive safe, we're walking. But thanks. Walking where? Home. It's only a mile. Ethan looked up at the rain, now coming down hard enough to sting. He typed, let me drive you. The response took a minute. You don't have to do that. I know. Where are you? She sent her location. Ethan jogged to his truck. He found them 2 blocks north, huddled under a bus stop shelter that wasn't doing much to keep them dry. Lily saw his truck first and pointed, signing something to Clara. Clara looked simultaneously relieved and embarrassed when he pulled up. "You really didn't have to." "Get in," Ethan said, leaning across to open the passenger door. She hesitated for exactly 2 seconds before helping Lily into the back seat and climbing in herself. The truck's interior was clean but worn, tools rattling in the bed, an old jacket wadded up behind the seat, the faint smell of sawdust and coffee. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would give him away. "Where to?" he asked. Clara gave him an address in one of the older neighborhoods, the kind where rent was cheap because everything was falling apart. They drove in comfortable silence. Lily fell asleep almost immediately, her head resting against the window. Clara watched her for a moment, then turned to look at Ethan. "You're a weird guy," she said softly. "Yeah? Yeah, good weird, I think, but weird. I'll take it. Most guys would have bailed the second I walked in with a kid. I'm not most guys." Clearly, the address she'd given him led to a 4-story apartment building that looked like it hadn't seen maintenance since the 90s. Peeling paint, cracked foundation, windows that probably leaked in every rainstorm. Clara saw him looking and bristled slightly. "It's not much, but it's ours." "I wasn't—" Ethan stopped. "I was just thinking you probably have terrible water pressure." She blinked. "How did you know that?" "Building's old, galvanized pipes. They corrode. Whole system probably needs replacing." "Oh." Clara looked at the building with new eyes, like she'd never considered there might be a reason for all its problems. "Yeah, the pressure is awful." She unbuckled and gently shook Lily awake. The girl signed something sleepy and confused. "We're home, baby," Clara signed back. "Come on!" Ethan got out and came around to help, but Clara was already lifting Lily out, the girl clinging to her like a koala. "Thanks for the ride," Clara said over Lily's shoulder. "And for everything, I guess." "Anytime." She started toward the building, then stopped and turned back. "Ethan?" "Yeah?" "You meant it, right? About calling?" "Yeah, I meant it." She nodded, something uncertain but hopeful crossing her face. "Okay, good." He waited until they were inside before driving away. That night, Ethan stood in his own home, a sprawling estate in the hills south of the city that he mostly used for sleeping and ignoring, and thought about Clara's apartment building with its corroded pipes and broken foundation. His son was with his ex-wife for the weekend, so the house was empty except for him. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen he never cooked in, and a living room that looked like a furniture showroom because his decorator had insisted minimalism is timeless. He hated it here. Ethan pulled out his phone and looked at Clara's contact information. It would be easy to check her out properly, run a background search, see her financial situation, confirm the whole story about her sister and Lily. His assistant could have a full report on his desk by Monday morning. He deleted the thought as soon as it formed. Whatever Clara was dealing with, she'd tell him when she was ready. Or she wouldn't. Either way, he wasn't going to treat her like a business deal that needed due diligence. His phone rang. Rachel again. "Tell me everything," she demanded. "There's nothing to tell." "Liar. You drove her home, didn't you?" "How did you—" "Because you're you. So what's she like, really?" Ethan thought about Clara signing with Lily in the cafe. The unconscious grace of it. The way she'd tried to smooth her wet hair and given up halfway through. The defensive set of her shoulders when he'd looked at her building, like she was bracing for judgment. "She's real," he said finally. "Real how?" "Just real. She doesn't perform. She doesn't try to be anything except what she is." Which is tired, broke, doing her best with a situation that's probably way harder than she makes it look. Rachel was quiet for a moment. "You really like her." "Yeah, I do." "Does she know about—" "No, and I'm not telling her yet." "Ethan, I mean it, Rachel. If this goes anywhere, I want it to be because she actually likes me, not because she Googled my net worth." His sister sighed. "You're going to make this so much harder than it needs to be." "Probably. She's going to find out eventually." "I know. And she's going to be pissed that you didn't tell her." "I know that too." "But you're doing it anyway." "Yeah." Rachel laughed, but it wasn't unkind. "You're an idiot." "Thanks." A well-meaning idiot, but still an idiot. They talked for a few more minutes before Rachel had to go deal with her own kids. Ethan hung up and walked through his empty house, room by room, trying to remember the last time it had felt like a home instead of just a place to store his stuff. He couldn't. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Lily wants me to tell you she's already planning where the bookshelf goes. Tell her I'll need measurements. You were serious about that? Yeah. Why wouldn't I be? Because people say stuff they don't mean all the time. Ethan stared at that message for a long moment, trying to figure out what kind of people Clara had been dealing with that made her so surprised by basic follow-through. I meant it, he typed. When's good for you? For what? To come take measurements. For the bookshelf. The response took longer this time. You actually want to come to my apartment? Would that be weird? Maybe? I don't know. My place is really small. That's okay. Another pause. Tuesday evening? After I pick up Lily from school? What time? 6? I'll be there. Ethan sent the message and immediately wondered if he was moving too fast. They'd had one coffee date that barely qualified as a date. Now he was showing up at her apartment to build furniture like some kind of overeager handyman. But Lily had asked, and Clara had said yes. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt like he'd found something that mattered more than quarterly earnings reports and board meetings. He spent Sunday in his workshop, a converted barn on the property that was the only part of the estate he'd designed himself, sketching bookshelf designs and trying to figure out what a 7-year-old girl might actually want. His phone rang Monday morning while he was inspecting a concrete pour at one of his developments in the industrial district. Mr. Mercer? His assistant's voice was crisp and professional. You have the quarterly review meeting at 10. Ethan looked at his watch. 9:45. Push it to 11. Sir, the board members are all ready. Then they can wait. I'm in the middle of something. He hung up before she could protest and went back to arguing with the contractor about rebar spacing. The quarterly review meeting was exactly as painful as he expected. 12 people in expensive suits talking about profit margins and market expansion, while Ethan tried not to fall asleep. His vice president ran most of it anyway. Ethan just nodded in the right places and signed off on things when required. You seem distracted, his VP noted after everyone else had left. Just thinking about a project. The Riverside development? Different project. Should I be worried? No. Ethan stood and grabbed his jacket. I'll be at the 4th Street warehouse this afternoon if anyone needs me. You're getting concrete dust on your suit. Ethan looked down at the gray smudges on his sleeve and shrugged. I've got others. He spent the rest of Monday and all of Tuesday in his workshop, building a bookshelf that was probably way too elaborate for a 7-year-old, but he couldn't seem to help himself. Cherry wood, adjustable shelves, a small drawer at the bottom for art supplies, rounded corners so Lily couldn't hurt herself. By Tuesday evening, it was finished and loaded in his truck. Clara's apartment was on the 3rd floor of the building, up a stairwell that smelled like old carpet and something vaguely chemical. Ethan could hear raised voices from one of the units, a baby crying from another. He knocked on 3B. The door opened immediately, like Clara had been waiting right behind it. She looked frazzled, hair in a messy bun, paint smudges on her fingers, wearing leggings and an oversized sweatshirt that said, "Coffee, please," in faded letters. "Hi," she said. "Sorry, I'm covered in... I was working on a project and lost track of time." "You're fine," Ethan gestured to his truck. "I've got the bookshelf." "You actually built it already? I had some free time." Clara blinked. "It's been 3 days. Like I said, free time." She let him down to help carry it up. When he pulled the tarp off the truck bed, Clara stopped moving entirely. "Ethan." "Yeah?" "This is..." She ran her hand over the smooth wood, the precise joints. "This is real furniture, like actual furniture. Furniture." "That was kind of the plan." "I thought you meant like cinder blocks and plywood." "Why would you think that?" "Because that's what normal people build." Lily appeared in the apartment doorway upstairs, saw the bookshelf, and her whole face lit up. She signed something rapid and excited. "She says it's perfect," Clara translated, sounding dazed. "She says it's the most beautiful thing she's ever seen." "Tell her thank you." Getting the bookshelf up 3 flights of narrow stairs took some creative maneuvering, but they managed. Inside, Clara's apartment was exactly what Ethan had expected. Tiny, crowded, everything worn but clean. Mismatched furniture, art supplies scattered across a folding table, a kitchen barely big enough for one person, and books. Everywhere. Stacked on the floor, crammed into a leaning particle board shelf, piled on the windowsill. Lily directed them to place the bookshelf against the wall in what appeared to be a shared bedroom. There was one full-size bed and a mattress on the floor. A curtain hung on a rope as a makeshift divider. Clara saw him looking and her jaw tightened slightly. "I know it's not much." "Where do you work?" Ethan asked instead. "What?" "Your design work. Where do you do it?" "Oh." Clara pointed to the folding table in the living room, currently buried under sketches and a laptop that looked like it predated smartphones. "There." "And Lily does her homework there too?" "When there's space, yeah." Ethan filed that information away without comment. They spent the next hour loading Lily's books onto the new shelves. She organized them by color first, then by size, then changed her mind and reorganized them by which ones she liked best. Clara sat on the floor beside her, offering suggestions and occasionally fixing the stacks when they got too precarious. Ethan stood back and watched them work, and something in his chest felt almost painful. This was what his enormous empty house had been missing. "You hungry?" Clara asked eventually, looking up at him. "I was going to order pizza." "I can do better than that," Ethan said before thinking. "Better how?" "Let me cook something." Clara stared at him. "You cook?" "Sometimes." "In my kitchen?" She gestured at the narrow galley space. "There's barely room to boil water." "I've worked in smaller spaces." That was a lie. He'd never worked in a space this small, but he'd watched enough cooking videos to improvise. Clara looked skeptical but intrigued. "What would you even make?" "What have you got?" 20 minutes later, Ethan was somehow making pasta carbonara in a kitchen the size of a closet, while Lily did her homework at the now cleared folding table, and Clara sat on the counter because there was literally nowhere else to sit. "This is surreal," Clara said, watching him work. "You build furniture and cook? What are you, some kind of domestic wizard?" "I'm just a guy who likes making things. Most guys I know can barely make toast. You know the wrong guys." She laughed. Clearly. Dinner was chaotic and perfect. They ate crowded around the small table, Lily getting sauce on her face and signing enthusiastically about her day at school. Clara translated, adding commentary that made Ethan laugh harder than he had in months. Afterward, while Clara was getting Lily ready for bed, Ethan did the dishes. The kitchen sink was tiny and the water pressure was indeed terrible, but he managed. Clara emerged from the bedroom looking exhausted. "She wants you to say goodnight." Ethan followed her back to the bedroom, where Lily was already in bed, her new bookshelf visible from where she lay. She signed something, looking at him seriously. "She says thank you for her bookshelf," Clara translated. "She says it's the best present anyone ever gave her." Ethan felt something tighten in his throat. "Tell her she's welcome." Clara's hands moved. Lily smiled and waved, then rolled over and closed her eyes. Back in the living room, Clara sank onto the couch with a heavy sigh. "I don't know how to thank you for all this." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. The bookshelf alone. Ethan, that thing is worth more than my rent. It's just wood. It's not just wood, and you know it." She looked at him steadily. "Why are you doing this, really?" Ethan sat down in the only chair, a threadbare armchair that had definitely seen better decades. "Because I wanted to." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I have." Clara studied him for a long moment, her eyes searching his face for something. "Most guys would have run after the first date. Kid, chaos, all of it. But you're sitting in my crappy apartment doing dishes and building furniture like it's completely normal." "Maybe it is normal. For me." "Nothing about you is normal, Ethan Mercer." She said his full name and Ethan's heart stopped for a second. But her tone was warm, not suspicious. She hadn't Googled him, didn't know. "I should go," he said, standing. "It's late." Clara walked him to the door. In the dim hallway light, she looked younger somehow, more uncertain. "Same time next week?" she asked. "Yeah?" "Lily has art class Thursday evenings. I'm usually free after. If you wanted to, I don't know, get coffee without a chaperone this time?" Ethan smiled. "I'd like that." "Okay, good." They stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither quite ready to say goodbye. Ethan? Yeah? Thanks for seeing us. Not just showing up, but actually seeing us. He didn't trust himself to respond with words, so he just nodded. Walking back to his truck, Ethan passed a man smoking in the stairwell, a couple arguing in rapid Spanish, a flickering fluorescent light that probably hadn't been fixed in years. The building was falling apart. The neighborhood was rough. Everything about this situation should have sent him running. Instead, he was already thinking about Thursday. His phone rang as he drove home. Rachel, of course. How was it? Good. Just good? Really good. Did you tell her? No. Ethan, I'm not doing this tonight, Rachel. You're falling for her. He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Just be careful, his sister said softly. I know you want this to be real, but secrets have a way of blowing up. I know. Do you? Yeah, I do. He hung up and drove the rest of the way home in silence, Clara's words echoing in his head. Thanks for seeing us. The problem was, Ethan couldn't imagine not seeing them now. His house felt even emptier than usual when he got back. He walked through the massive kitchen where he never cooked, past the dining room table that never hosted dinners, up to his bedroom where he slept alone in a bed big enough for 4 people. Somewhere across town, Clara was probably already asleep on a mattress on the floor. Lily curled up beside her, both of them crammed into a space smaller than his walk-in closet. And he would have traded his entire house for one night in that crowded apartment if it meant he got to be part of whatever family they were building together. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Lily just informed me she's adding you to her Christmas list. Fair warning. Ethan smiled and typed back. What does she want? She hasn't decided yet, but knowing her, it'll involve art supplies and glitter. I can handle glitter. That's what everyone says. Then they find it in their car 6 months later. Worth it. A pause, then, yeah, it really is. Ethan fell asleep that night thinking about bookshelf measurements and terrible water pressure and a little girl who thought he had kind eyes. For the first time in 3 years, he didn't dream about his failing marriage, or his empty house, or the company that demanded everything and gave back nothing. He dreamed about a crowded apartment that smelled like pasta and paint, where everyone talked with their hands and nobody cared that he was a billionaire because nobody knew. And when he woke up, he was already planning Thursday. Thursday came slower than Ethan wanted and faster than he was ready for. He spent Wednesday afternoon in a meeting with city planners about a mixed-use development downtown, nodding at architectural renderings while mentally calculating how much lumber he'd need to build Lily a proper desk. The folding table situation was bothering him more than it should. Clara needed workspace. Lily needed somewhere to do homework that wasn't covered in design mock-ups and coffee rings. Mr. Mercer, your thoughts on the facade treatment? Ethan blinked and refocused on the architect standing at the front of the conference room. Whatever gets us through permitting fastest. I trust your judgment. His VP shot him a look that clearly said, what the hell is wrong with you? But Ethan ignored it. The meeting dragged on another 40 minutes before he could escape. His assistant caught him in the hallway. Sir, you have the foundation dinner Saturday night. The one for children's literacy? Cancel it. You're the keynote speaker. Find someone else. Mr. Mercer, Janet. He stopped walking and turned to face her. I know I'm being difficult. I know this is your job, but I need Saturday off and I'm not negotiating. She studied him with the expression of someone who'd worked for the Mercer family long enough to recognize when pushing back was pointless. Fine, but you're telling the board chair yourself. Deal. He made it to Clara's building at 6:15, carrying takeout from a Thai place his sister had recommended, and trying not to think too hard about the fact that he was more nervous now than he'd been before board presentations worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Clara answered the door in paint-splattered jeans and a tank top, her hair up in a clip with a pencil stuck through it. You're early. Traffic was light. Is that a problem? No, just, She gestured vaguely at herself. I'm a mess. Lily's still at art class. I was going to shower before you got here. You look fine. I have cerulean blue in my hair. I don't know what that is. It's a shade of paint in my hair because I'm a professional disaster. Ethan held up the takeout bag. I brought food. Claire's expression softened. You didn't have to do that. I know. Can I come in or are we eating in the hallway? She stepped aside, laughing. Sorry. Yeah, come in. The apartment looked different in the early evening light. Still small, still crowded, but somehow more lived in than last time. Lily's artwork covered one wall now, held up with painter's tape. The new bookshelf stood proud in the bedroom doorway, fully loaded and organized. Clara saw him looking. She rearranges it every day. I've stopped trying to keep track of her system. That's good. Means she's using it. Using it? She talks about it constantly. Well, signs about it. You know what I mean. Clara cleared space on the folding table, moving design sketches and a laptop that looked like it might die any second. What did you bring? Pad thai, spring rolls, some kind of curry thing the guy recommended? The guy? At the restaurant. You went there in person? Yeah? Clara sat down across from him, shaking her head slightly. Most people just order delivery. I was already out. Where? Good question. Ethan had actually driven from a job site in the industrial district, but saying that would require explaining what he was doing there, which would lead to questions he wasn't ready to answer. Running errands. Clara accepted this without pressing. They ate straight from the containers because she only had 4 plates and most of them were in the sink. The pad thai was good. The spring rolls were better. The curry was too spicy for either of them, but they kept eating it anyway. So, Clara said, around a mouthful of noodles. Tell me about your son. Jake? You have another one I don't know about? Just Jake. He's 8. Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. What does that mean? It means he asks questions I don't always know how to answer. Ethan set down his fork. He's with his mom this week. We split custody 50-50. That must be hard. It's not ideal. How long have you been divorced? Final papers came through about 8 months ago. We were separated for a year before that. What happened? If you don't mind me asking. Ethan thought about how to answer that honestly without getting into territory he wasn't ready to explore. We wanted different things. She wanted the life that came with my last name. I wanted to actually live instead of performing all the time. Clara was quiet for a moment. What does that mean? Performing? Parties, galas, charity events, where everyone spends more on their outfit than most people make in a month. Standing around making small talk with people who only care about what you can do for them. He realized he was saying too much and pulled back. My ex-wife loved all that. I didn't. Eventually, that became a problem we couldn't fix. Sounds exhausting. It was. Is that why you dress like you're about to demo a house? Ethan looked down at his worn jeans and faded Henley. I dress like this because it's comfortable. And because it pisses off your ex-wife? That's just a bonus. Clara laughed, and the sound filled the small apartment like light. I like you, Ethan Mercer. You're weird, but I like you. I'll take it. They finished eating, and Clara insisted on doing dishes, even though there were only a few containers to rinse. Ethan stood in the doorway to the tiny kitchen, watching her work, and trying to figure out when he'd become the kind of person who found dishwashing romantic. How long until you pick up Lily? He asked. Clara checked her phone. About an hour. Her teacher usually runs late because the kids don't want to leave. You want to show me what you're working on? She turned, surprised. My design stuff? Yeah. It's boring. Show me anyway. Clara dried her hands and led him to the folding table, pulling up files on her ancient laptop. The screen flickered twice before loading. I'm doing a logo redesign for a real estate company. They want something modern but trustworthy, which is code for, we have no idea what we want and we'll reject everything you show us. Ethan looked at the mock-ups on her screen. They were good. Clean lines, smart use of negative space, the kind of professional work that should have been commanding serious money. What are they paying you? $300? For a logo? For the logo, 3 revision rounds, and all file formats. Clara's voice had an edge to it. I know it's not enough. But I need the money, so... You're undercharging. Thanks, I hadn't noticed. Clara. I know. Okay? She closed the laptop harder than necessary. I know I'm undercharging. I know I'm letting clients walk all over me. I know I should have better boundaries and charge what I'm worth and all that empowering freelancer bullshit. But in the real world, where I have a kid to feed and rent due in 2 weeks, I take what I can get. Ethan held up his hands. I wasn't criticizing. Yes, you were. I was making an observation. Same thing. They stared at each other for a moment, the air tense in a way it hadn't been 5 minutes ago. Clara broke first, sighing. Sorry, I'm defensive about work stuff. I noticed. It's just, everyone has opinions about what I should be doing differently. My mom, my friends, random people on the internet. Like it's easy. Like I'm just choosing to struggle. I don't think that. No? No. Ethan sat down in the armchair. I think you're doing what you have to do to survive. That's not weakness. That's pragmatism. Clara studied him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. You really mean that? Yeah. Most people don't get it. They think if you're struggling, it's because you're doing something wrong. Most people are idiots. She laughed, tension breaking. Truth. Clara sat on the couch, tucking her feet under her. What about you? You like your job? Sometimes. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement. It pays well, it's stable, my son's college fund is set. All true statements that revealed nothing. But do you like it? Ethan thought about his answer carefully. I like building things. I like solving problems. I like seeing projects go from concept to completion. The rest of it, the meetings, the politics, the endless bureaucracy, I could do without. So quit. And do what? I don't know. Build furniture full time. You're clearly good at it. Furniture building doesn't pay for health insurance. Fair point. Clara pulled the pencil out of her hair and twirled it between her fingers. Do you ever think about it, though? Just walking away from the stable thing and doing what you actually want? Every single day, Ethan thought, but didn't say. Sometimes. What stops you? Responsibility. Jake. The fact that wanting something doesn't mean it's smart to chase it. That's depressing. That's being an adult. I hate being an adult, Clara muttered. It's the worst. Agreed. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Ethan could hear someone's TV through the thin walls, a dog barking somewhere outside, the building settling around them with creaks and groans. Clara's phone buzzed. She checked it and groaned. The real estate client just sent feedback. They want to see something with more energy. What does that even mean? Absolutely nothing. It means they don't know what they want, but they know they don't want this. She tossed her phone on the couch. I'll deal with it tomorrow. You sure? If I look at it now, I'll just get pissed off and send an email I'll regret. Better to wait until I can be professional about it. Ethan respected that level of self-awareness. Clara's phone buzzed again. This time when she read the message, her whole body went rigid. What's wrong? Ethan asked. Nothing. It's nothing. Clara. She looked up and her eyes were shiny. My sister. She's in town. Wants to see Lily. Isn't that good? You'd think so, wouldn't you? Clara's voice went hard. Except she's been gone for 6 months without a word. No calls, no texts, no child support. And now she just shows up and expects everything to be fine. What are you going to do? I don't know. I should let her see Lily, right? She's still her mom. But every time she does this, shows up, makes promises, disappears again, it destroys Lily for weeks. Does Lily ask about her? Used to. Not so much anymore. Clara wiped her eyes roughly. She's 7 years old and she's already learning that her mom isn't reliable. What kind of lesson is that? Ethan didn't have an answer. The only thing worse than no answer was a bullshit platitude, so he kept quiet. Sorry, Clara said after a moment. This isn't your problem. You don't have to apologize. I'm dumping my family drama on you during our second date. That's exactly the kind of thing you're supposed to avoid. Who made that rule? I don't know. Society? Society also says you're supposed to get married, buy a house in the suburbs, and pretend to like golf. I'm not big on following rules. That got a small smile. You don't like golf? I hate golf. It's the most boring sport ever invented. What do you like? Baseball, hockey, anything where people actually move. Lily loves baseball, Clara said. She went to a game last summer with her class and came home signing about it for hours. I didn't understand half of what she was saying, but she was so excited. Jake plays Little League, Ethan offered. Maybe they could go to a game together sometime. Clara looked at him like he'd suggested something radical. You'd want that? Lily meeting your son? Why not? Because that's a big step. That's family integration territory. Is it? Ethan, we've been on 2 dates. 3 if you count tonight. Fine, 3 dates. That's not usually when you start introducing kids. What's the usual timeline? Clara opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I don't actually know. I haven't dated since Lily came to live with me. So we're both making this up as we go. That's one way to put it. Look, Ethan said, leaning forward. I'm not trying to rush anything, but I like you. I like Lily. If Jake meeting her feels too fast, we'll wait. But don't say no because you think there's some rule about it. Clara was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. You're serious? Yeah. About all of this? About us? Yeah. Why? It was a fair question. Ethan tried to find words that didn't sound completely insane. Because you're the first person in 3 years who's looked at me like I'm just a person. Not a paycheck, not a status symbol, not a stepping stone to something better. Just me. I don't even know what you do, Clara pointed out. For all I know, you could be a janitor. Would that matter? No. She said it immediately, without hesitation. I don't care what you do for work. I care that you show up when you say you will. That you built my niece a bookshelf because she asked. That you do dishes without being asked, and you don't make me feel like shit for living in a crappy apartment. Something in Ethan's chest cracked open. Clara, I like you too, she said quietly. In case that wasn't clear. I like you a lot, actually, and that's terrifying because my life is a disaster, and I don't have room for complications. I'm not a complication. You're definitely a complication. Okay, yeah, but maybe a good one? Clara laughed, wiping her eyes again. Maybe. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and stood up. That's the art teacher. Class is done. I need to go pick up Lily. I'll drive you. Ethan, it's a 10-minute round trip. Let me drive you. She looked like she wanted to argue, but tiredness won out. Okay, fine, but only because my feet hurt. The art studio was in a converted warehouse in the arts district, the kind of space where rent was cheap because nothing worked properly, but the light was good. Ethan waited in the truck while Clara went inside, watching through the large windows as she signed with Lily's teacher, as Lily ran to her and signed something excited, as Clara laughed and signed back. They came out together, Lily carrying a painting that was mostly purple with some enthusiastic yellow streaks. She saw Ethan through the windshield and waved, her whole face lighting up. Hey kid, Ethan said as Clara helped her into the back seat. What'd you make? Lily held up the painting proudly and signed. She says it's the night sky, Clara translated. The yellow is stars. It's good. The colors are bold. Lily beamed and signed something else. She wants to know if you have kids, Clara said. I have a son. His name is Jake. He's 8, same as you're about to be. Lily's eyes went wide. She signed rapidly, looking between Ethan and Clara. Slow down, Clara signed back. 1 question at a time. More signing. She wants to know if Jake likes art, Clara said. He likes building things, Ethan offered. Legos mostly. And he's really into dinosaurs right now. Lily considered this seriously, then signed something that made Clara laugh. What? Ethan asked. She says any boy who likes dinosaurs is probably okay. High praise. They drove back to the apartment, Lily chattering in sign language the entire way. Clara translated occasionally, mostly when Lily asked Ethan direct questions about Jake, or what kind of dinosaurs were his favorite, or whether he thought pterodactyls were actually dinosaurs, or just flying reptiles. I don't know, Ethan admitted. That's a Jake question. He'd have opinions. Lily signed something emphatic. She says pterodactyls are definitely not dinosaurs, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong, Clara translated, trying not to smile. She's very passionate about this. I can see that. Back at the apartment, Lily went straight to her bookshelf to reorganize it again, while Clara put away her art supplies. You want coffee? Clara asked. Fair warning, it's terrible. My coffee maker is from 1987, and I'm pretty sure it's haunted. How can a coffee maker be haunted? It makes weird noises, and sometimes the coffee comes out brownish instead of actual brown. I don't know what else to call that. I'll risk it. The coffee was indeed terrible, but Ethan drank it anyway. They sat at the folding table while Lily rearranged her bookshelf for the 3rd time, comfortable in a way that felt too easy for how little time they'd actually spent together. I should probably go, Ethan said eventually. It's getting late. Yeah, probably. Neither of them moved. About my sister, Clara said abruptly. I'm going to tell her no. About seeing Lily. You sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. She doesn't get to disappear for months and then waltz back in when it's convenient. That's not how parenting works. It's your call. You think I'm being too harsh. I think you're protecting your kid. That's not harsh. That's being a good parent. Clara's eyes went shiny again. You can't just say stuff like that. Why not? Because it makes me want to cry, and I'm already an emotional disaster today. Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. Her fingers were cold and paint-stained, and she gripped his like a lifeline. Thank you, she said quietly, for being here, for not running away screaming. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now. I'll say it tomorrow, too. Clara squeezed his hand once more, then let go. I'll walk you out. At the door they stood in the narrow hallway, close enough that Ethan could see the flecks of paint she'd missed in her hair. Same time next week? She asked. Or sooner if you want. Sooner? I'm free Saturday, if you are. I have to work. Client revisions. Sunday? Clara hesitated. Sunday's good, but fair warning. Lily will be with me. My babysitter quit. Well, fired me. Apparently I don't pay enough. Bring her. To a date? Why not? Worked the first time. Clara shook her head, but she was smiling. You're so weird. You mentioned that. I'm going to keep mentioning it until you acknowledge how weird this is. Deal. She kissed him then, quick and soft and tasting like terrible coffee. Then she pulled back, looking startled at herself. Sorry, she said. I should have asked. Ethan kissed her back, slower this time, one hand coming up to cup her face. When they broke apart, Clara's cheeks were pink and her eyes were bright. Oh, she said. Yeah. Yeah. She laughed, breathless. Okay, good, great. Sunday then? Sunday. Ethan made it halfway down the stairs before he heard her door open again. Ethan? He turned. Clara was leaning out into the hallway, her hair falling out of its clip. I really like you, she called down. Like a concerning amount for 3 dates. Same, he called back. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. We are. She grinned and disappeared back inside. Ethan sat in his truck for a solid 5 minutes before starting the engine, trying to remember the last time a kiss had made his hands shake. High school, maybe. Possibly never. His phone rang. Rachel? Because of course it was. How was the date? Good. Just good? Really good. Did you tell her yet? No? Ethan, I kissed her. Silence. Then, you what? She kissed me first. Then I kissed her back. Then we agreed to see each other Sunday. Oh my God, Rachel breathed. You're in deep. Yeah, like really deep. I know. And you still haven't told her who you are. No. This is going to blow up in your face. Probably. But you're doing it anyway. Yeah. His sister sighed. You're an idiot. But you sound happy, so I guess that counts for something. Thanks. When do I get to meet her? Not yet. Why not? Because you'll tell her I'm a billionaire within 5 minutes and ruin everything. I would not. Rachel stopped. Okay, I probably would, but only because she deserves to know. She'll know when I'm ready to tell her. And when's that? I don't know yet. They talked for a few more minutes before Rachel had to go. Ethan drove home through empty streets, the city quiet around him. His house was dark when he pulled up. He'd forgotten to leave lights on again. Inside, the silence was oppressive. He walked through rooms that cost more than most people's yearly salary and felt nothing but the absence of what he'd just left. A crowded apartment, terrible coffee, a little girl reorganizing her bookshelf while her aunt translated questions about dinosaurs. That was home. This was just where he kept his stuff. Ethan's phone buzzed, a text from Clara. Lily wants to know if Jake can come on Sunday too. He smiled and typed back, Let me ask him. She's already planning activities. Fair warning. What kind of activities? I honestly have no idea. She's being very secretive about it. Tell her Jake's in. You haven't asked him yet. He'll say yes. Trust me. Another text came through. I'm trusting you with a lot lately. I know. I won't mess it up. You better not. Lily really likes you. If you break her heart, I'll have to kill you. Noted. And before you ask, yes, I'll be sad about it, but I'll still do it. Also noted. A pause. Then, I really like you too, by the way, in case the kiss didn't make that clear. Ethan stared at that message for a long moment, something warm spreading through his chest. The kiss made it clear, he typed. But it's nice to hear anyway. Good night, Ethan. Good night, Clara. He fell asleep on his couch, still in his jeans, his phone clutched in his hand like a teenager. And when he dreamed, it was about Sunday afternoons and terrible coffee and a woman with paint in her hair who looked at him like he was worth seeing. Saturday morning, Ethan called his ex-wife. I need to change weekend plans, he said when she picked up. Ethan, we have a custody agreement. I know. I'm not asking to skip my weekend. I'm asking if Jake can meet someone. Silence. Someone? I'm seeing someone. It's new, but it's good. And she has a niece. I thought maybe the kids could meet. You're dating? His ex-wife sounded genuinely surprised. Since when? A few weeks? And you're already introducing her to Jake? It's not that simple. She brings her niece everywhere. The kid's 7. If I want to see Clara, Lily comes with the package. Clara, his ex repeated. What does she do? Here it was. The test. Graphic design, freelance. Oh. The single syllable carried a world of judgment. Does she know about... No, and you're not telling her. Ethan. I mean it, Jennifer. Not a word. She's going to find out eventually. Let me worry about that. His ex-wife sighed. Fine. Bring Jake back Sunday evening instead of Monday morning. But Ethan, be careful. I don't want him getting attached to someone who's going to disappear. She's not going to disappear. You don't know that. Yeah, Ethan said quietly. I do. He picked up Jake Saturday afternoon. His son bounded out of the house with a backpack full of dinosaur books and endless energy. Dad, Mom said we're meeting new people tomorrow. We are. Who? A friend of mine and her niece. The girl's about your age. Jake's nose wrinkled. Is she weird? Probably, but good weird. What's her name? Lily. She's 7, almost 8. And Jake? She's deaf. So she talks with her hands instead of words. Jake absorbed this information with the seriousness of someone much older. Does she know dinosaurs? I think so. Okay, I'll bring my books to show her. That night, Jake peppered him with questions. What did Clara look like? Where did they live? Did they have any pets? Would there be snacks? I don't know about snacks, Ethan admitted. That's a critical planning failure, Dad. Since when do you say things like critical planning failure? Mom's boyfriend says it. He works in logistics. Ethan decided not to touch that comment. We'll bring snacks then. What kind does Lily like? How should I know? I've never met her. Fair point. Sunday morning, they stopped at a grocery store. Jake selected enough snacks to feed a small army, including 3 different kinds of cookies and something called fruit leather that looked deeply suspicious. This is too much, Ethan said. You can't show up to meet new people without good snacks, Dad. That's basic social protocol. Where are you learning this stuff? The internet. Great, that's great. They showed up at Claire's apartment at 11, Ethan carrying 2 grocery bags and Jake carrying his dinosaur encyclopedia like a security blanket. Clara opened the door looking frazzled. Hey, sorry, Lily's having a wardrobe crisis. A what? She can't decide what to wear. Apparently meeting Jake is a formal occasion that requires careful outfit selection. From the bedroom came the sound of drawers opening and closing. This is Jake, Ethan said, nudging his son forward. Jake waved awkwardly. Hi, I brought snacks. I can see that, Clara said, eyeing the grocery bags. Did you buy out the whole store? Just the good stuff, Jake said seriously. Lily emerged from this bedroom wearing a bright purple shirt with a dinosaur on it and jeans. She saw Jake and froze, suddenly shy. Jake stared back, equally frozen. Well, Clara said, this is going well. Ethan set down the grocery bags. Jake, this is Lily. Lily, this is Jake. Jake lifted one hand in a small wave. Lily waved back. Then Jake pulled out his dinosaur book and held it up. Lily's face lit up. She signed something rapid and excited. She says she likes your shirt, Clara translated. Jake was wearing a t-shirt with a T-Rex on it. Thanks. I like your dinosaur too. Jake pointed at her shirt. Just like that, the ice broke. Within 5 minutes, they were sitting on the floor with the dinosaur encyclopedia open between them, Lily signing questions and Jake answering with the kind of enthusiastic detail only an 8-year-old could muster. That went better than expected, Clara murmured, standing beside Ethan. Kids are easier than adults. Truth. They ended up at a park near the apartment, a scrubby piece of grass with broken playground equipment and a basketball court where teenagers were playing a chaotic game of pickup. Jake and Lily claimed the swings immediately, Lily signing and Jake doing his best to understand without knowing sign language. He's trying so hard, Clara said, watching them. Jake doesn't do anything halfway. Lily's the same. When she decides she likes someone, that's it, full commitment. They sat on a bench while the kids played. Clara had brought her laptop and a notebook, clearly planning to work. You don't have to work right now, Ethan said. I have revisions due tomorrow. Can they wait an hour? Clara looked at him, then at the kids, then back at her laptop. Yeah, they can wait. She closed the computer and leaned back, tilting her face toward the sun. This is nice. Yeah? Yeah, I don't usually get to just sit. There's always something that needs doing. So don't do anything. Just sit. You make it sound easy. It is easy. You're just bad at it. Clara laughed and shoved his shoulder. Rude. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Jake push Lily on the swings, both kids laughing. After a while, Lily hopped off and signed something to Jake. He nodded, and they ran toward the basketball court, stopping at a safe distance to watch the teenagers play. Do you think they'll be friends? Clara asked. Yeah, I think they already are. That was fast. Sometimes things just work. Clara looked at him, something soft in her expression. Yeah, sometimes they do. Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from his VP. Board meeting moved to Tuesday. We need you there. He turned the phone off without responding. Work? Clara asked. Nothing that can't wait. You sure? You can take it if you need to. I'm sure. They stayed at the park until the kids got hungry, then walked to a taco truck parked on the corner. Jake and Lily sat on the curb eating their food while Ethan and Clara stood nearby, close enough that their shoulders touched. Thank you for this, Clara said quietly. For what? Bringing Jake. Making this feel normal. My life's been so chaotic for so long, I forgot what normal felt like. This is normal for me too, Ethan said. The good kind of normal. Clara leaned into him slightly, and Ethan wrapped an arm around her shoulders without thinking about it. She fit there perfectly, her head just under his chin. My sister texted again, she said after a moment. She's pissed I won't let her see Lily. What did you say? That she can see her when she's ready to actually commit to being a parent, instead of just visiting when it's convenient. How'd she take it? About as well as you'd expect, lots of guilt-tripping and blame-shifting. Clara sighed. I know I'm doing the right thing, but it doesn't feel good. The right thing usually doesn't. They stayed like that for a while, watching the kids and the traffic and the city moving around them. Eventually, Jake and Lily finished eating and came over, both talking excitedly. Jake in words, Lily in signs that Clara translated. They want to go to a museum, Clara said. Specifically, the Natural History Museum. Apparently there's a dinosaur exhibit. We can do that, Ethan said. Now? Why not? Clara looked uncertain. Museum admission isn't cheap, and parking, and I've got it covered. Ethan, Clara. He turned to face her properly. Let me do this, please. She searched his face for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but I'm buying lunch after. Deal. The museum was packed with families, the dinosaur exhibit especially crowded. Jake immediately appointed himself Lily's tour guide, pointing out different fossils and signing their names with his own invented sign language that bore no resemblance to actual ASL, but somehow Lily understood anyway. Clara and Ethan followed behind them, occasionally intercepting when they tried to climb barriers or touch things marked "Do Not Touch." They're going to get us kicked out, Clara said, watching Jake gesture wildly at a triceratops skull while Lily giggled. Probably worth it. They made it through the whole exhibit without incident. though it was a close call when Jake tried to convince the museum guard that he needed to see the fossil preparation lab for research purposes. Afterward, Clara insisted on buying everyone ice cream from a cart outside. They sat on the museum steps, all four of them sticky and happy. "Best Sunday ever," Jake declared through a mouthful of chocolate. Lily signed her agreement enthusiastically. "We should do this again," Jake said, looking at Ethan. "Can we?" Before Ethan could answer, Lily was signing the same question to Clara. "We'll see," Clara said carefully. "That means yes," Jake told Lily confidently. Adults always say "we'll see" when they mean yes but don't want to commit. Lily signed something that made Clara laugh. "What?" Ethan asked. "She says Jake is very smart." "He has his moments." By the time they got back to Clara's apartment, both kids were exhausted. Lily went straight to her bookshelf to show Jake her organization system, while Clara made coffee, and Ethan pretended not to notice that her coffee maker really did make disturbing sounds. "I should get Jake home," Ethan said eventually. "School tomorrow." "Yeah, Lily too." Neither of them moved. "Today was really good," Clara said. "Yeah, it was. The kids get along." "Surprisingly well. Jake's a good kid. So is Lily." They stood in the small kitchen, the conversation stilted now that they were talking around what they both wanted to say. "I want to do this again," Ethan said finally. "All of it. Soon." Clara smiled. "Me too. How about next weekend? Both days?" "If you want." "I want." She moved closer. "I really want." Ethan kissed her then, soft and slow, trying to communicate everything he couldn't yet say out loud. When they broke apart, Clara's eyes were bright. "You're really good at that," she said. "Practice." "With who?" "You, hopefully." She laughed and kissed him again, quick and sweet. "Definitely me." They gathered Jake, said their goodbyes, and headed out. In the truck, Jake was uncharacteristically quiet. "You okay, buddy?" Ethan asked. "Do you like Clara?" "Yeah, I do." Like her?" "Where'd you learn that phrase?" "School." "Do you?" "Yeah, Jake, I like her." His son nodded seriously. "Good. I like Lily. She's weird, but good weird. Runs in the family. Can we see them again next weekend?" "That's the plan." "Every weekend?" "Probably." Jake absorbed this information, then nodded once. "Okay, that's good. Mom's boyfriend is boring, but Clara's cool, and Lily knows dinosaurs." High praise. "The highest," Jake agreed solemnly. They drove in comfortable silence. Ethan's phone, turned back on, showed 17 missed calls and 43 texts. He ignored all of them. That night, after dropping Jake off and returning to his empty house, Ethan stood in his workshop and thought about Clara's cramped apartment with its terrible coffee maker and broken water pressure. He could fix all of it: the pipes, the foundation, the leaking windows. He could write a check that would move her into a better building, a safer neighborhood. He could make her life easier with a single phone call. But she'd never forgive him for it. Clara didn't want to be rescued. She wanted to be seen. And for the first time in years, Ethan understood the difference. His phone buzzed, a text from Clara. "Lily says thank you for the museum, and the snacks, and for bringing Jake. Tell her any time. She also says you have to come to her birthday party next month. Wouldn't miss it. Fair warning, it'll probably be chaos. 7-year-olds are feral. I've met Jake. I know about feral." A pause, then, "Thank you for today, for all of it. You make me feel like maybe I'm not completely failing at this." Ethan read that message 3 times, his chest tight. "You're not failing," he typed. "You're amazing. Lily's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have you." He stared at those 5 words for a long time before responding, "Same." That night, Ethan didn't dream about his empty house, or his demanding company, or the fortune he'd inherited that felt more like a burden than a blessing. He dreamed about Sunday afternoons at the park, about kids who became instant friends, about a woman with paint in her hair who was teaching him what it meant to be seen for who he actually was. And when he woke up Monday morning to his assistant calling about an emergency board meeting, he told her to handle it and went back to sleep. Some things, he was learning, mattered more than money. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon while Ethan was elbow-deep in foundation specs for a commercial project downtown. His phone vibrated across the desk, Clara's name lighting up the screen. He answered immediately, already smiling. "Hey." "Nothing. Just breathing, uneven and shaky. Clara? She's gone. Her voice came out fractured, barely holding together. My sister, she took off again, for good this time. Ethan was already grabbing his keys. Where are you? Home. I'm at home. Lily's at school. She doesn't know yet, and I don't know how to tell her that her mom just... Clara's voice broke completely. There's paperwork, so much paperwork, legal guardianship forms and custody agreements, and I don't have a lawyer. I don't have money for a lawyer. I don't even know where to start. I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already in my truck, 20 minutes. He made it in 15, taking corners faster than he should have and ignoring 3 calls from his office. Clara's building looked the same as always, peeling paint, cracked sidewalk, the perpetual smell of garbage from the dumpster around back. But somehow it felt different now, like the weight of what was happening inside had changed the whole structure. Clara opened the door before he could knock. She looked wrecked, red eyes, hair tangled, still wearing what she'd probably slept in. Papers covered every surface of the small apartment, legal documents, court forms, printed articles about custody law. She left a note, Clara said without preamble, holding up a piece of notebook paper covered in messy handwriting. Taped to my door this morning, said she can't do this anymore, that Lily's better off with me, that she's sorry. Clara, sorry, Clara laughed, but it sounded more like something breaking. She's sorry. Like that fixes anything. Like sorry is enough after abandoning your kid for 2 years. Ethan took the note, read it quickly. The handwriting was erratic, the message shorter than a grocery list. Barely a paragraph to explain why a mother was walking away from her daughter. She signed over her rights, Clara continued, shuffling through papers with shaking hands. Just like that. Filed preliminary paperwork yesterday and texted me this morning that it's done. I have to file counter paperwork within 30 days, or it defaults to state custody while they sort it out. And I don't even know what half these forms mean. Slow down. I can't slow down. The clock is ticking and I have to figure this out, and I don't know how. I've been reading legal forms for 3 hours and everyone says I need a lawyer, but lawyers cost money I don't have. Ethan gently took the papers from her hands and set them on the table. Look at me. Clara did, her eyes wet and desperate. We'll figure this out, he said, all of it. But right now you need to breathe. I can't. Yes, you can. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Ethan, I don't need a breathing exercise. I need a lawyer and about $10,000 I don't have. Clara. He took her hands. They were ice cold. Breathe with me, please. She resisted for a moment, then gave in. They stood in the middle of her chaotic apartment, breathing together while the clock ticked and legal deadlines loomed, and somewhere across town a 7-year-old girl had no idea her whole life had just changed again. After a minute, Clara's breathing steadied. Some of the panic left her eyes. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, I'm okay. You're not okay, but you will be. How do you know? Because you love that kid more than anything, and that counts for something. Clara pulled away and sank onto the couch, pressing her palms against her eyes. I can't afford this. Any of it. The legal fees alone will bankrupt me, and that's before we even talk about what happens after. I'll need a bigger place. Lily needs her own room for the custody evaluation. I need to prove I can provide for her long term. One thing at a time. There's no time. I have to file response paperwork, get a home evaluation, prove financial stability, and I'm barely keeping my head above water as it is. Ethan sat down beside her, careful to keep some distance. What do you need? Right now? Today? What's the most urgent thing? Clara lowered her hands and stared at the ceiling. A lawyer. Someone who knows family law and won't charge me $300 an hour I don't have. I know someone. You know a lawyer? My company uses a firm for contract stuff. They have a family law division. I can make a call. Clara turned to look at him, something flickering across her face. Your company has lawyers on retainer? Ethan realized his mistake immediately. It's a big company. They keep lawyers for everything. How big? Regional. We do construction materials, remember? Lots of contracts, lots of legal stuff. Clara absorbed this, still watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. That must pay pretty well. It's fine. Fine like comfortable, or fine like you're being modest? Clara. Because that bookshelf you built cost more in materials than I make in a month, and you keep offering to pay for things like it's nothing. Museums, groceries, now lawyers. I'm trying to help. I know, but I need to understand what I'm getting into here. If you're secretly rich or something, I'm not secretly rich. Technically true. He was openly rich, just not to her. I do okay. Better than okay. But I'm not, it's not like that. Not like what? Not like I'm some trust fund kid throwing money at problems. I work for what I have. Also technically true. Ethan worked constantly. The fact that he'd inherited a company worth billions didn't change that he actually ran it. Clara studied him for a long moment, then seemed to decide something. Okay, fine. If you know a lawyer who won't destroy me financially, I'll take the help. But Ethan, I need to pay my own way. I can't be someone's charity case. You're not a charity case. Then what am I? Someone I care about who's having a really hard time. Let me help. Her eyes went shiny again. Why? Because I want to. Because Lily deserves better than this. Because you deserve better than this. Clara wiped her eyes roughly. I don't deserve anything. I'm just trying to survive. That's not true. You don't know that. You barely know me. I know enough. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down between them. I have to pick up Lily in an hour, Clara said finally. And I don't know what to tell her. Tell her the truth. That her mom abandoned her, again? That you're making sure she's safe, that you're handling it. That's what she needs to hear. Clara nodded slowly, but she didn't look convinced. She's going to be devastated. Yeah, probably. And I'm going to have to hold it together while she falls apart. And I don't know if I can do that. You can. You've been doing it for 2 years. 2 years of temporary. This is permanent. This is me becoming her legal parent, not just her babysitter aunt. That's... Clara's voice cracked. That's terrifying. Ethan wanted to pull her into his arms, but something in her posture said she needed space to break down without an audience. So he stood up instead. I'm going to make some calls, he said. Figure out the lawyer situation. You take a shower, get dressed, do whatever you need to do before you pick up Lily. Ethan, I'm not leaving. I'll be right here when you get back. Clara looked at him like he'd promised something impossible. Then she nodded and disappeared into the bathroom. Ethan waited until he heard the shower start, then stepped out into the hallway and called his personal attorney. Marcus, I need a family law specialist, best one you know. What kind of case? Custody. Single guardian adopting her niece. Mother's terminating her rights voluntarily, but the paperwork is a nightmare. That's not really my area, but I know someone. Sarah Chen. She's sharp and she doesn't play games. You want me to set up a meeting? Today, if possible? Ethan, it's 3 in the afternoon. Most lawyers. Tell her I'll pay triple her usual rate for an emergency consultation. Today. Marcus was quiet for a moment. This is personal, isn't it? Yeah. The woman Rachel mentioned? Yeah. Does she know about... No. And she's not going to. Not from you, not from Sarah Chen, not from anyone. As far as anyone's concerned, I'm just a guy helping out someone I'm dating. Ethan, if you're paying the legal fees, so I'm loaning the money. She'll pay me back. That's the deal. If you say so. Marcus didn't sound convinced. I'll call Sarah. Expect to hear from her within the hour. Thanks. Ethan hung up and stared at the peeling paint on the hallway wall. 3 doors down, someone was cooking something that smelled like burnt onions. A baby cried. The building settled with a groan that suggested the foundation really was as bad as it looked. He could fix all of this. One phone call and Clara would have a lawyer, a new apartment, a trust fund for Lily's education. Hell, he could buy the entire building and renovate it, make it safe for everyone who lived here. But Clara would hate him for it. The bathroom door opened. Clara emerged, still looking wrecked, but at least clean. She'd changed into jeans and a sweater, pulled her hair back into a braid. Feel better? Ethan asked. Not really, but I'm functional. That's something. His phone rang. Sarah Chen already calling back. I need to take this, he told Clara. Okay. He stepped back into the hallway. Hello? Mr. Mercer, this is Sarah Chen. Marcus said you have a custody situation that needs immediate attention. Not me. A friend. The mother's voluntarily terminating rights. My friend needs to file for legal guardianship within 30 days or the state gets involved. How old is the child? 7, almost 8. And your friend has been the primary caregiver? For 2 years. That's good. Makes the case stronger. I can meet this evening, 6 o'clock at my office? Ethan thought about Clara's face when he'd mentioned lawyers. Can you do a home visit instead? She's dealing with a lot right now. Going to an office might be overwhelming. Sarah was quiet for a moment. That's unusual? I know. I'll make it worth your time. Marcus mentioned triple rate. Quadruple for a home visit. Mr. Mercer, I appreciate the business, but I should mention that custody cases can get expensive fast. Court fees, filing costs, expert witnesses if it goes to a hearing, you're looking at potentially tens of thousands of dollars. Is your friend prepared for that? I'm covering it. Does she know that? She thinks it's a loan. Mr. Mercer, I know how it sounds, but she won't accept charity. This is the only way she'll let me help, Sarah sighed. Fine. Text me the address. I'll be there at 6. But Ethan? She's going to figure out eventually that you're not just some guy who works in construction materials. I know. And when she does, she's going to be pissed. I know that too. He hung up and went back inside. Clara was sitting at the table, staring at the pile of legal documents like they might spontaneously combust if she looked hard enough. I got you a lawyer, Ethan said. She's coming here at 6. Clara's head snapped up. Here? Today? Yeah. How much is this going to cost me? We'll figure it out. Ethan, Clara, please, let me do this. You can pay me back, set up a payment plan, whatever makes you feel better, but right now you need help. Let me help. She looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded. Okay, but I'm paying you back, every cent. Deal. Clara checked her phone. I need to get Lily in 20 minutes. I'll drive you. You don't have to. I want to. They drove to Lily's school in silence. Ethan kept glancing at Clara, watching her stare out the window with the kind of blank expression people get when they're trying very hard not to feel anything. You want me to come in with you? He asked when they pulled up. No, I should do this alone. Okay. Clara didn't move. What if I can't do this? What if I'm not enough? You are enough. You've been enough this whole time. That was temporary. This is forever. What if I screw her up? You won't. You don't know that. Yeah, I do, because you're already worrying about it. Bad parents don't worry. Clara managed a weak smile. That's a low bar. Maybe, but you clear it by miles. She squeezed his hand once, then got out of the truck and walked toward the school entrance. Ethan watched her disappear inside and tried not to think about how much he wanted to fix this for her. How easy it would be to make one call, throw enough money at the problem that it simply ceased to exist. But that wasn't what she needed. Clara emerged 10 minutes later with Lily, who was chattering in sign language about something that happened during art class. She saw Ethan through the windshield and waved enthusiastically. Hey kid, Ethan said when they climbed in. Lily signed something, her expression curious. She wants to know if Jake is coming over, Clara translated, her voice carefully neutral. Not today, but soon. Lily signed again, more insistent. She says you promised. I promised to bring him for her birthday party. That's still happening. This seemed to satisfy Lily, who went back to signing about art class. Clara translated mechanically, but Ethan could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she kept glancing at Lily like she was memorizing her. Back at the apartment, Clara made them snacks while Lily arranged her bookshelf for what had to be the 100th time. Ethan sat at the folding table and pretended to look at his phone while actually watching Clara move through the small kitchen with precise, controlled movements. She was holding it together by pure force of will. Lily, Clara signed after a few minutes. Come here. I need to talk to you. Lily bounded over, still happy and unaware. She climbed onto the couch beside Clara, looking up at her aunt with complete trust. Ethan stood. I can go. Stay, Clara said. Please. So he sat back down and watched Clara take a deep breath and try to find words for something that had no good words. You know how your mom has been gone a lot? Clara signed slowly. Lily nodded, her expression starting to shift. She's not coming back this time. She decided that it's better for you to live with me. Always. Not just for a little while. Lily's hands moved. Clara shook her head. Not visiting. Not later. She's not going to be part of our lives anymore. Ethan didn't need a translation to understand what happened next. Lily's face crumpled. She signed something rapid and desperate, and Clara signed back, her own eyes filling with tears. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." Lily threw herself at Clara, sobbing into her shoulder. Clara held her tight, one hand on the back of Lily's head, rocking slightly. "I've got you," Clara murmured, even though Lily couldn't hear. "I've got you. You're safe. You're staying with me forever now. I've got you." Ethan looked away, his throat tight. This was private grief, the kind that shouldn't have an audience. But Clara had asked him to stay, so he stayed. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, Lily's sobs quieted to hiccups. She pulled back and signed something to Clara. "Yes," Clara signed back. "I promise. You're not going anywhere. You're mine now, forever." Lily signed again, looking at Ethan this time. Clara's voice was rough when she translated. "She wants to know if you're leaving too." "No," Ethan said immediately. "I'm not going anywhere." Clara signed it. Lily studied him with red, swollen eyes, then nodded slowly. She climbed off the couch and walked to her bookshelf, pulling out her favorite book and bringing it to Ethan. "She wants you to read to her," Clara said. "She always wants books when she's upset." So Ethan read a picture book about a girl who could talk to animals, signing the words as best he could with his limited knowledge while Lily curled against his side. Clara sat nearby, watching them with an expression that made Ethan's chest hurt. By the time Sarah Chen knocked on the door at 6, Lily had fallen asleep against Ethan's shoulder, exhausted from crying. Clara answered the door and led the lawyer inside, both of them keeping their voices low. Sarah was younger than Ethan expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp eyes and a leather portfolio that looked expensive. She took in the small apartment, the sleeping child, the pile of legal documents on the table, and her expression softened slightly. "You must be Clara," she said, extending her hand. "Yeah. Thanks for coming on such short notice." "Of course," Sarah glanced at Ethan, then back at Clara. "Should we talk in another room?" "There is no other room. This is it." Sarah set her portfolio on the table and pulled out a legal pad. "Okay, let's start from the beginning. Your sister is voluntarily terminating parental rights?" "Yeah. And you want to file for legal guardianship?" "Adoption, actually, if that's possible." Sarah made a note. "It's possible. Stronger than guardianship, actually, since it makes you the legal parent in all respects. But it's also more complicated. We'll need home studies, background checks, financial documentation." "I don't have much money," Clara interrupted. "I'm barely making rent right now. Is that going to be a problem?" "It's not ideal, but it's not disqualifying. What matters more is stability, steady income, safe housing, ability to provide for the child's needs. Do you have a job?" "Freelance graphic design." "How long?" 3 years full-time, 5 years total." Sarah made more notes. "That's good. Consistent work history. What about housing? How long have you been here?" 2 years. "And before that?" "Different apartment in the same neighborhood." "Good. Stability matters." Sarah looked up. "I'm going to be honest with you, Clara. This is going to be expensive. Not just my fees, but court costs, evaluation fees, potentially expert witnesses if your sister contests. She won't contest. She wants this." People say that, then change their minds. We need to prepare for the possibility. Clara's face went pale. "How expensive are we talking?" Sarah glanced at Ethan again, clearly weighing how much to say. "With everything included, you're looking at $15,000 to $20,000, maybe more if complications arise." The number hung in the air like a grenade. "I don't have that kind of money," Clara said quietly. "I don't have a tenth of that." "There are options, payment plans, legal aid programs. I'll cover it," Ethan said. Both women looked at him. "Ethan, no," Clara started. "It's a loan. You'll pay me back when you can. But right now, Lily needs you to be her parent, and you can't do that if you're drowning in debt." "I can't accept that much money from you." "Why not?" Because we've been dating for 3 weeks. I can't take $20,000 from someone I've known for 3 weeks." 4 weeks, Ethan corrected. "And you're not taking it. I'm loaning it. There's a difference." Clara looked at Sarah. "Can you give us a minute?" "Of course." Sarah stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind her. Clara turned to Ethan, and her expression was something between desperate and angry. Who are you? What? Who are you really? Because normal people don't just casually loan out $20,000. Normal people don't have lawyers on speed dial and connections to the best family law attorneys in the state. So who are you? Ethan's stomach dropped. Clara, tell me the truth. Are you rich? Like, actually rich? This was it, the moment he'd been dreading. He could lie, keep up the pretense a little longer, or he could tell her the truth and watch everything fall apart. I have money, he said carefully. More than most people. How much more? Does it matter? Yes, it matters because I need to know what I'm getting into here. Are you a millionaire? Because that would explain a lot. Ethan looked at Lily, still asleep on the couch, and thought about all the ways this could go wrong. More than that. Clara went very still. How much more? A lot more. Ethan, can we not do this right now? Sarah's waiting in the hallway. Lily just found out her mom abandoned her. You have 30 days to file paperwork. Don't. Clara's voice was sharp. Don't use Lily as a shield. You lied to me. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. No, it's not. I never lied about who I am. I wanted you to get to know me without all the other stuff getting in the way. What other stuff? Your secret fortune? Your apparently massive company? What else haven't you told me? Ethan ran his hand through his hair, frustration and guilt warring in his chest. My family owns Mercer Home Industries. It's a building materials company. Regional, like I said, but bigger than I made it sound. How much bigger? Biggest supplier in the Pacific Northwest. Clara stared at him. That's a billion-dollar company. Yes. And you own it? Most of it. My sister has shares, but I run it. Oh my God. Clara sat down hard on the couch, careful not to wake Lily. You're a billionaire. The company is worth that. I'm not walking around with billions in my pocket. That's not the point. She looked up at him, and there were tears on her face now. You watched me stress about money, about legal fees and rent, and whether I could afford to buy Lily new shoes, and you just, what, thought it was cute? Watching the poor girl struggle? No, Clara, no. I was trying to figure out how to help without making you feel like a charity case. Too late for that. You're not a charity case. Then what am I? Your project? The struggling single mom you get to rescue? You're someone I care about. You barely know me. I know enough. Ethan's voice rose, then he forced it back down. I know you work yourself to exhaustion trying to give Lily a good life. I know you're terrified you're not enough, but you show up every day anyway. I know you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. That's what I know. Clara wiped her eyes. You should have told me. When? The first date when you were 45 minutes late with a wet kid? The second date when you were freaking out about your babysitter? When exactly was the right time to say, hey, by the way, I'm secretly a billionaire? Before you offered to pay for my lawyer, before you wormed your way into my life pretending to be someone you're not. I didn't pretend. Everything I told you was true. I do work in construction materials. I do build furniture. I do hate fancy parties and golf and all the bullshit that comes with money. The only thing I didn't tell you was how much of it I have. They stared at each other, both breathing hard. I can't do this right now, Clara said finally. I have a lawyer waiting in the hallway and a traumatized kid on my couch, and I can't process this right now. Okay. I need you to leave. Clara, please just give me some space. I'll call you when I've figured out how I feel about all this. Ethan wanted to argue, to make her understand, to fix this the way he couldn't fix anything else. But the look on her face stopped him. Okay, he said quietly. I'll go. But I meant what I said. About the loan. Sarah's fee is covered regardless of what happens with us. Lily deserves that. I'll pay you back. I know. He walked to the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. You're right about that. Clara didn't respond. Ethan stepped into the hallway where Sarah was checking her phone. She's ready for you. And you? I'm leaving. Sarah studied him. Did you just torpedo your relationship to help her keep that kid? Probably. That's either really noble or really stupid. Can it be both? Sarah actually smiled. Yeah, it usually is. She knocked on Claire's door. One more thing, Mr. Mercer. Your secret? It won't stay secret much longer. Court documents are public record. Once we file, anyone can look up who's funding this case. I know. So this was always going to come out. I know that too. Sarah shook her head and went inside. Ethan walked down the 3 flights of stairs, past the flickering light and the couple arguing in Spanish, out into the parking lot where his truck sat next to cars held together with duct tape and prayer. He sat behind the wheel for a long time, not starting the engine, just staring at Claire's building and thinking about all the ways money was supposed to make life easier but somehow just made everything more complicated. His phone rang. Rachel. How's Clara doing? She hates me. What happened? She found out. About the money. Ethan. I know. You warned me. You were right. What are you going to do? Give her space. Hope she calls. Try not to make it worse. Did you at least get her the lawyer? Yeah, Sarah Chen, best family law attorney in the state, according to Marcus. How much is that costing you? I don't care. Rachel was quiet for a moment. You really love her. Yeah, even though she hates you right now, she doesn't hate me. She hates that I lied. You didn't lie. You just didn't tell her everything. That's what I said. She disagreed. Give her time. She'll come around. Maybe. Ethan, you just paid for a lawyer to help her keep her kid. That's not nothing. It's also not enough to make up for lying to her for a month. 4 weeks is not that long. It was long enough for her to trust me, and then I broke that trust. Rachel sighed. You're an idiot, but you're a well-meaning idiot. That has to count for something. They talked for a few more minutes before Rachel had to go deal with her own kids. Ethan sat in his truck until the sun set, until lights started coming on in windows, until he couldn't justify sitting there any longer without looking like a stalker. He drove home to his empty mansion and walked through rooms that felt even emptier now than they had before he met Clara, before he knew what a real home felt like. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Sarah Chen, just wanted to update you on the case. Clara's in good shape legally. Mother's rights termination is clean, no contested issues. We should have this wrapped up in 60 days, maybe less. Thanks for letting me know. She's a good mom. That kid is lucky. Yeah, she is. Another text. For what it's worth, she didn't say anything bad about you. Just asked me not to discuss your financial arrangement in front of Lily. That's it? That's it. Draw your own conclusions. Ethan stared at that message for a long time. Clara wasn't bad-mouthing him to her lawyer. She was protecting Lily from adult complications. Even pissed off and hurt, she was still putting the kid first. He fell asleep on his couch again, his phone in his hand, waiting for a message that didn't come. The next 3 days were the longest of Ethan's life. He threw himself into work, approving contracts and inspecting sites, and sitting through meetings where people talked at him about profit margins, while he thought about Clara's face when she'd asked him who he really was. Jake noticed something was wrong on Friday when Ethan picked him up for the weekend. You okay, Dad? Yeah, buddy. Just tired. Are we seeing Clara and Lily this weekend? Not this weekend. Why not? Clara's dealing with some stuff. She needs space. Jake absorbed this with the seriousness of someone much older. Did you guys break up? I don't know. That's a terrible answer. Yeah, it is. Do you want to break up? No. Did she do something bad? No, I did. What did you do? Ethan looked at his 8-year-old son and tried to figure out how to explain adult relationship dynamics. I wasn't completely honest with her about something, and now she's mad. Did you say sorry? Yeah. Did she forgive you? I don't know yet. Jake thought about this. Mom says sorry isn't magic. You have to actually fix what you broke. When did your mom say that? When I broke her vase and said sorry. She said sorry was just words. I had to help her glue it back together before she'd forgive me. Out of the mouths of children, Ethan thought. That's pretty smart. So what are you going to fix? I don't know yet. That's the problem. They spent the weekend together, just the two of them. Ethan taught Jake how to use a miter saw in his workshop, supervised while Jake built a birdhouse that was more enthusiasm than precision. They ordered pizza, played video games, had a completely normal weekend. But Ethan kept checking his phone. No messages. Sunday evening, he dropped Jake back at his ex-wife's house. Jennifer met him at the door, took one look at his face, and sighed. You look terrible. Thanks. The woman you're seeing? Yeah. What happened? I screwed up. Jennifer studied him for a moment, then surprised him by saying, Whatever you did, fix it. You look happier than I've seen you in years. Don't let that go. Even if she doesn't want to be fixed? Especially then. The good ones are worth fighting for. It was possibly the nicest thing his ex-wife had said to him since the divorce. Ethan drove home thinking about what Jake had said. Sorry was just words. He had to fix what he'd broken. But how do you fix broken trust? The answer came to him Monday morning while he was reviewing architectural plans for a new development. Claire had asked him who he really was. Maybe it was time to actually show her. He pulled out his phone and typed a message. Can we talk? I want to show you something. The response came 20 minutes later. I'm busy. When are you not busy? That's not the point. Please. 1 hour. That's all I'm asking. A long pause. Then, fine. Thursday evening. Lily has art class, but I'm not promising anything. I'm not asking you to. Just give me a chance to explain. No response to that. Ethan spent the next 3 days planning. Not with money. Money was what had gotten him into this mess. With something that actually mattered. Thursday evening, he picked Clara up from her apartment at 6. She looked exhausted, dressed in the same paint-splattered jeans she'd been wearing the first time he showed up at her door. Where are we going? She asked, sliding into the passenger seat without looking at him. You'll see. They drove in silence through the city, past the downtown core, into the industrial district. Clara watched the warehouses roll by, her expression unreadable. Ethan, if this is some kind of grand gesture, it's not. Just trust me. 1 more minute. He pulled up in front of a massive warehouse, one of his company's main distribution centers. The sign read Mercer Home Industries in letters 10 feet tall. Clara stared at it. This is yours? Yeah. He led her inside, past loading docks and forklifts and pallets of building materials. Workers called out greetings. Ethan waved back, Clara walking silently beside him. In the back corner, behind stacks of lumber and drywall, was his office. Not the executive suite downtown where he held board meetings. This one. The one he actually used. It was small, cluttered with blueprints and material samples. A battered desk, 2 chairs, a coffee maker that looked older than Clara. Photos on the wall, Jake at various ages, Rachel's family, his parents before they died. And on the desk, spread out like a map, were plans. Detailed architectural drawings for an apartment renovation. Clara's apartment. What is this? She asked quietly. Plans. For fixing your building, new pipes, foundation work, proper insulation, windows that actually seal. Everything that's wrong with that place. Ethan, I'm not doing it, he said quickly. I'm showing you that I could, that I've been thinking about it since the first time I walked into your apartment and saw how bad the water pressure was. But I'm not doing it because that's not what you need from me. Clara moved closer to the desk, studying the plans. They were detailed, professional, clearly expensive to create. You had these drawn up? I drew them up. I used to do this before I got stuck behind a desk. Design work, renovation planning. It's what I actually like doing. These are really good. Thanks. She turned to face him. Why are you showing me this? Because you asked who I really am, and this is who I am. Not the guy in the suit at board meetings, not the billionaire whose name is on buildings. This, the guy who likes solving problems with his hands, who sees a broken foundation and wants to fix it. Claire's eyes were shiny. You can't fix this with blueprints, Ethan. I know. That's why I'm not trying. I'm showing you that I see you. All of it. The broken pipes, the too small apartment, the struggle to make rent. I see it. And I want to help. Not because you're a project, but because I care about you. You lied to me. I didn't tell you everything. There's a difference. Not to me, there isn't. Okay, that's fair. Ethan sat on the edge of the desk. You want complete honesty? Here it is. I'm a billionaire. I inherited a company worth $3 billion that I never asked for and don't know what to do with half the time. I hate almost everything about my life except my son and the work I do in this warehouse when no one's looking. And then I met you, and for the first time in years, I felt like maybe I could have something real, Something that wasn't about money or status or what I could do for someone. Just me. Just us. Clara wiped her eyes. That's not fair. What's not fair? Being all honest and vulnerable. It makes it hard to stay mad at you. Good. I don't want you to be mad at me. Too bad. I'm still mad. Okay. That's fair too. They stood in silence for a moment, surrounded by building materials and the distant sound of forklifts moving pallets. Sarah says the adoption should go through smoothly, Clara said finally. Your money's going to make Lily my daughter, legally, forever. That's what matters. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like I'm taking advantage of you. You're not. How do you know? Because if you were, you would have said yes to all my offers the first time. New apartment, better job, trust fund for Lily. You said no to all of it. You only said yes when it was the only way to keep her. Clara looked at him then, really looked at him, and something in her expression shifted. I'm still paying you back. I know. Every cent. Even if it takes years. I know. And you can't keep buying things, or fixing things, or throwing money at my problems. Okay? I'm serious, Ethan. I believe you. Do you? Because I need you to understand that I don't want to be rescued. I want a partner, someone who sees me as an equal, not someone to be saved. That's all I've ever wanted to be. Clara moved closer until she was standing right in front of him. Then be that. No more secrets. No more conveniently forgetting to mention you're one of the richest men in the state. If we're doing this, we do it honestly. Deal. I mean it. So do I. She kissed him then, hard and desperate and tasting like tears. When they broke apart, she was crying for real. I was so scared, she whispered, that this was too good to be true, that you'd leave like everyone else. I'm not leaving. Promise? Yeah, I promise. They stood there for a long time, holding each other in Ethan's cluttered office while the warehouse hummed with activity around them. Eventually, Clara pulled back, wiping her eyes. I need to pick up Lily. I'll drive you. Okay. In the truck, Clara reached over and took his hand. I'm sorry I freaked out. You had every right to freak out. Maybe, but I could have listened instead of just getting mad. We both screwed up. Yeah, we did. They picked up Lily, who signed excitedly about her art project, a sculpture made from recycled materials that was apparently going to be displayed in the school lobby. Clara translated, both of them smiling at Lily's enthusiasm. She wants to know if you and I are okay, Clara said after a minute. What do you think? Ethan asked. I think we're getting there. Good enough for me. Back at the apartment, Ethan helped Lily with homework while Clara made dinner. It was pasta again, because that's what they could afford. But somehow it tasted better than any meal Ethan had eaten in his mansion's professional kitchen. Later, after Lily went to bed, Clara sat beside him on the couch and leaned her head on his shoulder. This is still terrifying, she said. Yeah, it is. I don't know how to date a billionaire. Lucky for you, I don't know how to be one, so we're even. She laughed quietly. That's a terrible answer. I'm full of terrible answers tonight. Ethan? Yeah? Thank you. For the lawyer, for seeing me, for not running away when I lost it. Any time. They sat in comfortable silence, the small apartment settling around them. Outside, the city hummed with traffic and life. Inside, everything was still. I'm scared this won't last, Clara admitted. That eventually you'll realize I'm too complicated, too broke, too much work. Not going to happen. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. Because I've had easy. I've had simple. I've had relationships where everything was perfect on paper and miserable in practice. This is messy and complicated and terrifying, and it's the most real thing I've had in years. Clara tilted her head up to look at him. You're really weird, you know that? You've mentioned it. I'm going to keep mentioning it. Good. She kissed him again, soft and slow, and Ethan thought about broken things and how sometimes the best way to fix them was just to stay. To show up, day after day, and prove that you meant it when you said you weren't leaving. That was what Clara needed. Not his money. Just him. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Ethan thought maybe that was enough. 3 days later, Ethan showed up at Clara's apartment with his truck bed full of lumber, a toolbox that had seen better years, and a plan he probably should have run by her first. Clara opened the door in pajama pants and an old t-shirt, coffee mug in hand, her hair sticking up in about 7 different directions. It's 6 in the morning. I know, I brought breakfast. He held up a bag from the bakery down the street. Ethan, what are you doing? Building Lily a bedroom? Clara blinked. What? She needs her own space for the home study, for the adoption, for just being a kid. So I'm building her a bedroom. Today. You can't just... Clara stopped, looking past him at the truck. Is that lumber? And drywall, and insulation, and paint samples because I wasn't sure what color she'd want. Ethan, I'm not asking permission. I'm asking for you to grab the other side when I need it. He said it the same way he had the first time and watched Clara's face do something complicated. You're insane. Probably. Can I come in? She stepped aside, still looking dazed. Lily's still asleep. Good. We'll get the loud part done before she wakes up. Ethan made 3 trips from the truck, hauling materials up 3 flights of stairs, while Clara stood in her doorway drinking coffee and watching him like he might be having some kind of breakdown. Where are you even putting this bedroom? She asked when he came back with the last load. Living room. We're building a partition wall, floor to ceiling. Give her actual privacy instead of just a curtain. That's going to make the living room tiny. The living room's already tiny. At least this way Lily gets a door that closes. Clara set down her coffee mug. This is crazy. Yeah. We don't even know what we're doing. I do. You're going to learn. Ethan, Clara. He stopped moving and looked at her directly. Let me do this. Not with money, with my hands. Let me build something that matters. She studied his face for a long moment, then sighed. Fine. But if we destroy my security deposit, you're explaining it to my landlord. Deal. They started with measurements. Ethan showed Clara how to use a level, how to mark studs, how to check if things were actually square instead of just looking square. She was a quick learner, asking questions and catching mistakes before he had to point them out. You're good at this, he said after the first hour. I'm okay at following instructions. That's more than most people. They worked quietly, the rhythm of it falling into place faster than Ethan expected. Clara held boards while he cut them. He showed her how to use the drill, then stepped back and let her sink screws herself. When she stripped one, he handed her another without comment. Lily woke up around 8 and emerged from the bedroom rubbing her eyes. She saw the construction project taking over the living room and her whole face lit up. She signed something rapid and excited. She wants to know what you're building, Clara translated, setting down the drill. A bedroom for you, with real walls and a real door. Lily's eyes went huge. She signed again, looking between them. Yes, really, Clara signed back. Ethan's building it today. Well, starting it today, Ethan corrected. Probably need the weekend to finish. Lily launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his waist in a hug that nearly knocked him over. When she pulled back, she was grinning so wide it looked like her face might split. I think she approves, Clara said, her voice slightly rough. Good, because we're past the point of no return. They broke for breakfast around 9, sitting on the floor because the table was buried under materials. Lily insisted on helping, so Ethan gave her a paintbrush and let her test the paint samples on scrap pieces of wood. She wants purple, Clara translated after a flurry of signs. Like really purple. Purple walls it is. You sure? That's going to be intense. It's her room. She should get to pick. By noon, they had the basic wall frame up. It wasn't perfect. There was a slight bow in one section that Ethan would need to fix later, but it was solid. Clara stood back and stared at it like she couldn't quite believe it was real. There's a wall in my living room. Yep. An actual wall that wasn't here this morning. That's generally how building works. Shut up. But she was smiling. They worked through lunch, stopping only when Lily brought them sandwiches she'd made herself. Peanut butter and jelly with the crust cut off, arranged on a plate with the kind of careful precision only a 7-year-old could achieve. This is really good, Ethan told her. Lily beamed and signed something. She says you're welcome, and also when will her room be done because she wants to move in tonight, Clara translated. Tell her maybe tomorrow night if we work hard. More signing. She says she'll help. She's very strong. I believe it. By evening, they had the wall fully framed and the drywall up on one side. Ethan's shoulders ached and his hands were covered in small cuts from handling metal framing, but he felt better than he had in weeks. This was real work. Work that mattered. Clara ordered pizza because neither of them had the energy to cook. They ate sitting on the floor again, Lily between them, all three of them covered in drywall dust. "This is insane," Clara said, looking at the wall that had appeared in her apartment. "Yesterday this space was empty, now there's a room here." "Not quite a room yet. Still need the other side of drywall, texture, paint, door, trim work." "Still, it's more room than she had this morning." Lily signed something, her expression serious. "She wants to know if you're tired," Clara said. "A little, but the good kind of tired." "She says thank you for building her a home." Ethan's throat went tight. "Tell her she's welcome." Clara's hands moved and Lily smiled, then went back to her pizza. After dinner, Ethan showed Clara how to tape drywall seams. It was tedious work, requiring patience and precision, and she was terrible at it. "This looks like a kindergartner did it," she said, staring at her lumpy tape job. "First time's always rough. You'll get better." "When?" "By the time we finish this wall." She laughed and tried again. This time it was slightly less lumpy. They worked until Lily started falling asleep sitting up. Then Clara carried her to bed. When she came back, Ethan was cleaning up, organizing tools, and stacking unused materials. "You don't have to clean," Clara said. "I'm not leaving you with a disaster zone." "It's already a disaster zone. There's drywall dust on everything." "Okay, fair, but at least it'll be an organized disaster zone." Clara grabbed a broom and started sweeping. They worked in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes when people have spent all day building something together. "Can I ask you something?" Clara said after a while. "Yeah." "Why are you really doing this?" Ethan paused, trying to find the right words. "Because you were right, about me trying to fix everything with money. That's not what you need, but this," he gestured at the wall. "This is different. This is me actually showing up, using my hands instead of my wallet. It's still a lot." "Yeah, but it's the right kind of a lot." Clara leaned on the broom, studying him. "You know you don't have to prove anything, right?" "I know." "Do you, though?" "I'm working on it." She smiled slightly. "Okay, as long as you're working on it." Ethan didn't leave until after 10, and even then Clara had to practically push him out the door. "Go home. Sleep. We'll finish tomorrow," she said. "You sure you don't need—" "Ethan, go." Okay, I'm going." At the door she kissed him quickly. "Thank you. For today. For all of it." "Anytime." Driving home, Ethan's whole body ached in a way that felt earned. His mansion was dark when he pulled up, empty like always, but somehow it bothered him less tonight. He had somewhere else to be tomorrow. Something real to do. He fell asleep on his couch, still covered in drywall dust, his phone alarm set for 5:30 so he could get back to Clara's early. The weekend became a blur of construction. Ethan showed up Saturday morning with more materials and coffee for both of them. They finished the drywall, textured it, let it dry. Sunday they painted, Lily helping with the parts she could reach, creating an abstract pattern along the bottom of one wall that Clara declared perfect, actually. By Sunday evening, they had a room. 4 walls, purple paint, a door that closed. Ethan had even built a small shelf unit that fit perfectly in the corner. Lily stood in the doorway, staring at her new space like it was made of magic. She signed something long and elaborate, her hands moving fast. "She says it's the most beautiful room in the world," Clara translated, her voice thick. "She says she never had her own room before. Not ever." "Well, she does now." Lily turned and signed directly to Ethan, her expression completely serious. "She says you're her family now," Clara said quietly. "She wants to know if that's okay with you." Ethan crouched down to Lily's level. "Yeah, kid, that's more than okay with me." Lily threw her arms around his neck, and Ethan held her, the small person who'd decided he was worth keeping. Over her shoulder, he saw Clara wiping her eyes. They spent the rest of the evening moving Lily's stuff into her new room. The bookshelf fit perfectly against one wall. Her art supplies got their own corner. The mattress that had been on the floor went onto a simple frame Ethan had built Friday night in his workshop. "It's not fancy," he said, looking around at the bare-bones furniture. "It's perfect," Clara said firmly. "It's hers." That night, for the first time in 2 years, Lily slept in her own room with a door that closed. Clara stood in the hallway, watching through the crack like she couldn't quite believe it was real. "You okay?" Ethan asked softly. "Yeah, just she's never had this before. Privacy, space, a door. She has it now." Clara turned to look at him, and her eyes were wet. "You built my kid a bedroom." "Yeah. That's not a small thing, Ethan." "I know. No, I don't think you do." She moved closer, lowering her voice. "You gave her something nobody else ever has. Not her mom, not me before this. A space that's completely hers. You would have done it if you could, but I couldn't, and you did." Clara took his hand. "Thank you for seeing what she needed and just doing it." They stood in the hallway for a long moment, Lily's soft breathing audible through the door, the apartment settling around them. "I should go," Ethan said eventually. "It's late." "Or you could stay." He looked at her. "Yeah? Yeah, I mean, you're covered in paint, and you've been here for 12 hours, and—" Clara stopped, something vulnerable crossing her face. "I don't want you to leave." "Okay. Okay? Okay, I'll stay." Clara kissed him then, slow and deep, tasting like the terrible coffee they'd been drinking all weekend. When she pulled back, she was smiling. "Fair warning, my couch is lumpy and too short. I've slept worse places." Liar. "Okay, yeah, but I don't care." They stayed up talking until past midnight, voices low so they wouldn't wake Lily. Clara told him about her sister, about the years of chaos before Lily came to live with her. Ethan told her about his divorce, about building a company he'd never wanted in the first place. "Do you ever think about walking away?" Clara asked. "From all of it?" "Every day." "Why don't you?" "Responsibility. The company employs 2,000 people. I can't just bail because I'm bored." "That's depressing. That's being an adult." "I hate that answer." "Me too." Eventually, they both fell asleep on the couch, Clara curled against his side, Ethan's arm around her shoulders. It was uncomfortable, and his neck was going to hate him in the morning, but it was also the best sleep he'd had in weeks. He woke up to Lily standing beside the couch, staring at them with intense curiosity. She signed something when she saw his eyes open. "Morning, kid," Ethan said quietly, careful not to wake Clara. "What's up?" Lily signed again, more insistent. "I don't know what you're saying. You're going to have to wait for your aunt." Clara stirred, blinking awake. She saw Lily and smiled sleepily. "Hey, baby, what do you need?" Lily signed, pointing at Ethan. Clara laughed. "She wants to know if you live here now." "What do you want me to tell her?" "The truth?" "Which is?" Clara looked at him, something soft in her expression. "That you're here a lot, and we like having you here." Ethan signed the best approximation he could, and Lily giggled at his terrible ASL. She signed something else, then ran back to her new room. "What did she say?" "That you need to learn to sign better, and that she's making us breakfast." "Should I be worried?" "Probably. Her idea of breakfast is usually sugar-based." They ended up with toaster waffles covered in too much syrup and sliced bananas that Lily had cut herself with intense concentration. Ethan ate every bite and declared it delicious. After breakfast, Clara had to work on client revisions. Ethan offered to take Lily to the park to give her space. "You sure?" Clara asked. "Yeah, we'll be fine." "She doesn't always listen to non-signers." "Then I'll learn to sign faster." Clara laughed and kissed him. "Text me if you need help." The park was crowded with Sunday morning families. Ethan and Lily claimed the swings, and he learned more sign language in 2 hours than he'd picked up in the previous month. Lily was a patient teacher, repeating signs until he got them right, giggling when he mixed up similar words. They got ice cream from a truck. Lily showed him how to sign different flavors. He taught her how to throw a baseball, though it became clear pretty quick that sports were not her thing. "That's okay," he signed clumsily. "Jake's not into art. You balance each other out." Lily beamed and signed something long. Ethan had no idea what she said, but he nodded anyway. She laughed and signed it again slower. He caught the words for dad and nice and thought maybe she was asking about Jake's dad, which was him. Which meant Lily poked his arm and signed again. "I'm going to need Clara for this conversation," Ethan admitted. Back at the apartment, Clara had made actual progress on her work. and looked less stressed than she had in days. She translated Lily's question, and Ethan was right. She'd been asking if Jake's dad was nice. "I like to think so," Ethan said. "But Jake might disagree sometimes." Lily signed again. "She wants to know if we're going to see Jake soon," Clara said. "His birthday is next month. Maybe we could do something together? If you want." Clara looked at him. "Like a party? Or just, I don't know, museum again? Something low-key?" "I'd like that." Lily clapped her hands, clearly considering this settled. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that felt almost normal. Ethan split his time between work, his son, and Clara's apartment. He taught Clara basic carpentry, and she taught him sign language. They were both terrible students, but neither seemed to mind. The adoption paperwork moved forward. Sarah Chen called weekly with updates, home studies scheduled, background checks clear, financial documentation submitted. Every step brought them closer to making it official. "How are you feeling about it?" Ethan asked one evening while they were doing dishes. "Terrified," Clara admitted. "What if I screw this up?" "You won't." "You don't know that." "Yeah, I do. You're already a great mom. The paperwork is just making it official." Clara was quiet for a moment. "My sister called yesterday." Ethan's hands stilled in the soapy water. "What did she want?" "To talk to Lily. I told her no." "How'd that go?" "About as well as you'd think. Lots of crying, lots of blame. Said I was keeping her from her daughter." "You doing okay?" "Yeah, I think so. It's just hard, knowing she's out there somewhere, probably telling people I'm the bad guy." "You're not the bad guy." "I know, but it doesn't always feel that way." Ethan dried his hands and turned her to face him. "You're protecting your kid. That's not being the bad guy. That's being a parent." Clara leaned into him, her head on his chest. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm not wise. I'm just stubborn and occasionally right." She laughed, and the tension broke. Jake's birthday fell on a Saturday. Ethan invited Clara and Lily to the party at his house, then immediately regretted it when he realized what that meant. Clara was going to see where he actually lived. "It's just a house," Rachel said when he called her in a panic. "Stop freaking out." "It's a 6,000 square foot mansion on 5 acres. She lives in a 400 square foot apartment. This is going to be a disaster. So downplay it. Tell her it came with the job or something." "That's lying again." "That's framing. There's a difference." Ethan was not convinced. The day of the party, he cleaned like a madman. Hid the expensive art, put away anything that screamed obscene wealth. Tried to make the house look normal instead of like something from a magazine spread. It didn't work. Clara pulled up in her beat-up sedan and just sat there for a minute, staring at the house through the windshield. When she finally got out, her expression was carefully neutral. "So," she said, "this is where you live?" "Yeah." "It's big." "Yeah." "Like really big." "I know. I'm sorry." "Why are you apologizing for your house?" "Because it's—" Ethan gestured helplessly. "It's a lot." Lily had no such reservations. She climbed out of the car and signed something excited. "She wants to know if there's a pool," Clara translated. "Yeah, out back." More signing. "Can she swim in it?" "That's why I told you to bring swimsuits." Lily actually squealed, a high, delighted sound, and ran toward the front door. "Lily, wait!" Clara called, then remembered and signed frantically. Lily stopped, bouncing on her toes. "Come on," Ethan said. "Let's go in before she explodes." The party was small, just Jake, a few of his friends from school, Rachel's family. Clara and Lily fit right in, Lily and Jake immediately disappearing to the pool while the adults stood around making awkward small talk. Rachel cornered Ethan in the kitchen. "She seems nice." "She is nice." "Jake likes her." "Good." "And Lily's adorable." "Also good." Rachel lowered her voice. "Does Clara know about—" "Yes, we talked about it. She's dealing with it." "Dealing with it how?" "By pretending my house isn't absurd and focusing on the fact that the kids are having fun." "That's a coping mechanism, not dealing with it." "Rachel, I'm just saying, you can't ignore the elephant in the room forever." "I'm not ignoring it. I'm just giving her space to process." His sister looked skeptical, but let it drop. Outside, the kids were having the time of their lives. Jake had appointed himself Lily's swimming instructor, teaching her different strokes with the kind of serious concentration he usually reserved for dinosaur facts. Lily was a natural, picking up techniques faster than Jake could demonstrate them. "She's really good," Clara said, standing beside Ethan at the pool edge. "Jake's a good teacher." "They're good together." "Yeah, they are." They watched the kids for a while, comfortable in the silence. "Your house is beautiful," Clara said eventually. "Thanks." "I hate it." Ethan turned to look at her. "What?" "Not hate it. Just, it makes me feel like I'm even more out of my league than I already did." "You're not out of your league." "Ethan, I live in an apartment where the pipes freeze in winter. You live in—" She gestured at the house. "This. We're not even playing the same sport." "The house doesn't matter." "Of course it matters. Everything about your life matters. And I'm trying to figure out how I fit into it." "You fit because I want you here. That's how." Clara was quiet for a long moment. "Your ex-wife must have loved this place." "She picked it, actually. I wanted something smaller." "Why didn't you?" "Because I was trying to make her happy. Turns out that doesn't work when you're fundamentally incompatible." "Are we compatible?" Clara asked quietly. "I think so. Don't you?" "I don't know. Sometimes I think yes. Sometimes I think I'm insane for even trying this." "Which is it today?" "Both. Simultaneously." Ethan pulled her closer. "For what it's worth, I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be." "In your mansion? At your son's birthday party? Watching our kids swim together?" "Yeah, exactly that." Clara leaned her head on his shoulder. "This is so weird. Good weird or bad weird? I haven't decided yet." The party wound down around dinner time. Parents picked up Jake's friends. Rachel's family headed home, and eventually it was just the four of them: Ethan, Clara, Jake, and Lily. "Pizza?" Ethan suggested. "You have a professional kitchen and you want pizza?" Clara asked. "The kids want pizza. I want what makes them happy." They ordered 3 large pizzas and ate in the living room, which Clara declared bigger than my entire apartment. "It's not that big," Ethan protested. "Ethan, I could fit my whole living space in your living room. It's objectively huge." "Okay, yeah, it's pretty big." After dinner, the kids wanted to watch a movie. They picked something animated that Ethan had never heard of, curled up together on the couch, like they'd been siblings their whole lives. Clara and Ethan sat on the other couch, close enough to touch, but not quite touching. "Thank you for today," Clara said softly, "for including us." "You're always included. You say that now, but eventually you're going to have fancy events and business dinners, and I'll bring you to those too, if you want to come." "What if I don't fit in?" "Then we'll both not fit in together. I'm pretty good at that." Clara smiled slightly. "You're really okay with this? All of it? The chaos and the complicated custody situation and my sister being a mess?" "Yeah, I am." "Why?" "Because you're worth it. Because Lily's worth it. Because this—" He gestured at the kids, at the space they were occupying together. "This is what actually matters." Clara kissed him then, soft and slow, and Ethan thought about how far they'd come from that first awkward coffee date. How she'd shown up 45 minutes late with a wet kid and somehow became the most important person in his life. The movie ended. Jake and Lily had both fallen asleep, tangled together like puppies. "I should get her home," Clara said reluctantly. "Or you could stay." "Ethan, I have 6 bedrooms. Lily can have her own room. You can have your own room. No pressure. Just stay. Let the kids sleep." Clara looked at the sleeping children, then at Ethan. "Okay, yeah, we'll stay." They carried the kids upstairs, Lily to the blue guest room, Jake to his own room. Clara stood in the hallway, looking at the doors. "This is surreal," she said. "Yeah. A month ago I was panicking about legal fees. Now I'm staying overnight in a mansion. Life's weird like that." Understatement. Ethan showed her to the guest room next to Lily's. It had its own bathroom, a king-size bed, windows overlooking the garden. "This room is bigger than my bedroom," Clara said. "Probably." "Definitely." She turned to look at him. "Where are you sleeping?" "My room, down the hall." "That's far." "It's like 40 feet. Still far." Ethan's heart picked up. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Clara moved closer. "I'm saying 40 feet is too far. I'm saying I don't want you down the hall. I'm saying... He kissed her before she could finish, and she melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt. You're sure? He asked when they broke apart. Yeah, I'm sure. They stayed up talking until past 2, lying in his bed fully clothed, just talking about everything and nothing. Clara told him about her childhood, about her sister's gradual descent into instability. Ethan told her about inheriting a company at 25, about feeling trapped by responsibility he'd never wanted. Do you ever wish you could just walk away? Clara asked. From the company? From all of it. The money, the expectations, the life everyone thinks you're supposed to want, every single day. Why don't you? Because people depend on me. Because walking away feels selfish. Because I don't know who I'd be without it. Clara propped herself up on one elbow. You'd be you, the guy who builds furniture and teaches kids to use power tools and shows up when he says he will. That's who you'd be. That's who I want to be. So be that. It's not that simple. Why not? Because... Ethan stopped, trying to find the words. Because I've spent my whole life being who everyone needed me to be. I don't know how to just be myself. So learn. You're learning sign language, aren't you? Learn this too. She made it sound so simple, like it was just a skill to acquire instead of a fundamental shift in identity. I'll think about it, Ethan said. Good. They fell asleep like that, still dressed, Clara's head on his chest, his arm around her shoulders. When Ethan woke up to sunlight streaming through the windows, it took him a moment to remember where he was and why everything felt different. Then he looked down and saw Clara still sleeping beside him, her face peaceful, her hand resting over his heart. This, he thought, this is what I've been missing. Downstairs, he found Jake and Lily already awake, raiding the kitchen for breakfast. Jake was signing something to Lily, who was giggling and signing back. When did you learn to sign? Ethan asked. YouTube, Jake said without looking up. Also, Lily's teaching me. We're having a conversation about dinosaurs. In sign language? Duh, how else would we talk about it? Ethan watched his son communicate effortlessly with Lily, bridging the gap between their worlds like it was nothing. Kids made everything look so easy. Clara appeared in the doorway, her hair a mess, wearing one of Ethan's t-shirts she had apparently borrowed at some point during the night. Morning, she said. Morning. They stood there grinning at each other like idiots while the kids made waffles and signed about paleontology. This is weird, right? Clara asked. Yeah, but good weird. The best weird. Definitely the best weird. Jake looked up from the waffle iron. Are you guys just going to stand there being gross, or are you going to help us make breakfast? Gross how? Ethan asked. You're doing the thing where you stare at each other all mushy. We're not mushy. Dad, you're literally making hard eyes right now. Lily signed something that made Jake crack up. What did she say? Clara asked. She said you're both very mushy, and also, can we keep the waffles, or do we have to share? Jake translated. They ended up making way too many waffles and eating them in the garden, all 4 of them sitting in the grass because the patio furniture was too formal. It was the best breakfast Ethan had eaten in his oversized house. Later, after Clara and Lily left, Jake helped him clean up. Dad? Yeah, buddy? I really like Clara and Lily. Me too. Like, a lot. Me too. Are they going to be around for a while? Ethan thought about how to answer that honestly. I hope so. Is that okay with you? Jake was quiet for a moment. Yeah, it's okay. More than okay. Yeah? Yeah. You're happier when they're here, and Lily's cool. She knows stuff. High praise. The highest. They finished cleaning in comfortable silence. Ethan thought about Clara's question from last night, about who he'd be if he walked away from it all. Maybe it was time to find out. The call from Sarah Chen came on a Tuesday morning while Ethan was arguing with a contractor about concrete specifications. He saw her name on the screen and his stomach dropped. Tell me it's good news, he said, stepping away from the job site. It's good news. The judge signed off. As of today, Clara Bennett is Lily's legal mother, full adoption, permanent, and irrevocable. Ethan had to sit down on a stack of lumber. You're sure? I'm looking at the signed documents right now. It's done. Lily's hers. Does Clara know? I called her first. She cried for about 10 minutes, then asked me to call you. How is she? Happy, relieved, still crying when I hung up. Sarah paused. You did a good thing here, Ethan. That kid's lucky. Clara's the lucky one. Lily's the one who got the good deal. I think you're all pretty lucky, actually. After he hung up, Ethan sat there for another 5 minutes, just breathing. It was done. Lily was safe. Clara was officially a mother. He called his assistant. Cancel everything for today. Sir, you have the quarterly review at 2. Cancel it. Reschedule it. I don't care. I'm not coming in. Mr. Mercer, Janet, I'm taking the day off. The company will survive without me for 8 hours. He hung up before she could argue and drove straight to Clara's apartment. She opened the door with red, puffy eyes and threw herself at him before he could say a word. She's mine, Clara sobbed into his shoulder. She's actually mine. Forever. I know, Sarah called me. I can't believe it's real. I keep thinking someone's going to call and say there was a mistake. There's no mistake. You're her mom now, legally, officially, permanently. Clara pulled back, wiping her eyes. Where's Lily? School. I didn't want to pull her out until I could process this without completely falling apart. You're allowed to fall apart. I've been falling apart for 2 hours. At some point, I need to pull myself together enough to pick her up and tell her. You want me to come with you? Clara looked at him like he'd offered her something precious. Really? Yeah, if you want. I want. They picked up Lily together at 3. She came running out of the school building, her backpack bouncing, signing something excited about art class. Then she saw both of them and stopped, her expression shifting to confusion. What's wrong? She signed to Clara. Nothing's wrong, baby. Get in the truck. We need to talk to you. Lily climbed in, her eyes darting between them nervously. They drove to the park, the same one where they'd taken the kids that first Sunday together. Clara led Lily to a bench while Ethan hung back, giving them space. Clara's hands moved slowly, carefully forming each sign. Ethan couldn't understand most of it, but he caught the important words. Official. Forever. My daughter. Lily went very still. Her hands lifted, then dropped. She signed something short. Clara nodded, tears streaming down her face. Lily signed again, more urgent. Yes, Clara signed back, really real. You're my daughter now. No one can take you away, ever. Lily launched herself at Clara, and they both started crying. Ethan turned away, giving them privacy, his own eyes burning. After a few minutes, Lily pulled back and signed something to Clara, then pointed at Ethan. She wants you, Clara called. Ethan walked over. Lily signed something, her face serious. She wants to know if you're staying too, Clara translated. If this means you're part of the family. Ethan crouched down to Lily's level. Yeah, kid. I'm staying, if that's okay with you. Lily nodded solemnly, then signed something else. Clara laughed through her tears. She says good because you still owe her a birthday party next month, and she was worried you'd forget. Not a chance. Already planning it. They went out for dinner to celebrate, a diner Lily picked because they had good milkshakes. The food was mediocre, but no one cared. They were too busy being happy. Afterward, back at the apartment, Lily went straight to her room and started rearranging her bookshelf again. Through the door, Ethan could hear her humming, a tuneless sound that was more vibration than music, but it meant she was content. She does that when she's happy, Clara said, standing beside him. Hums. She can't hear it, but she likes how it feels in her chest. That's the best thing I've heard all day. Clara leaned against him. Thank you for everything, for the lawyer, for being here, for all of it. You don't have to thank me. Yeah, I do. None of this would have happened without you. You would have figured it out. Maybe. Eventually. But you made it possible now, when it mattered. She turned to look up at him. I know I gave you hell about the money thing, but I'm grateful, really grateful. I know. They stood there for a moment, listening to Lily hum and move books around. I've been thinking, Clara said carefully, about what comes next. Yeah? The apartment is too small. Now that it's official, now that she's really mine, I need to find something better, more space, better neighborhood, maybe even a place where things actually work. Ethan chose his words carefully. You want help looking? No, I want to do it myself, but... She hesitated. I wouldn't mind if you came along, for moral support. I can do that. And Ethan? No suggestions about places I can't afford. I need to do this within my actual budget. What if I see something perfect? Then you keep your mouth shut and let me find my own perfect. He smiled. Deal. Over the next 2 weeks, they looked at apartments all over Spokane. Most were barely better than what Clara already had. Some were worse. A few were promising but got snatched up before Clara could even submit an application. This is impossible, she said after the 6th showing fell through. Everything decent is either too expensive or already taken. You'll find something. When? Lily's birthday is in 2 weeks, and I wanted to have this figured out by then. So it takes longer. That's okay. Easy for you to say. You're not living in a place where the heat cuts out every time it gets below freezing. Ethan bit his tongue on about 5 different offers to just buy her a place. Keep looking. Something will turn up. Something did turn up, but not in the way either of them expected. Ethan was at a job site when his phone rang. His property manager, calling about one of the apartment buildings Mercer Industries owned as an investment. We've got a vacancy in the Riverside complex, the manager said. 2-bedroom, first floor, just renovated. Thought you might know someone interested. Ethan knew the building. It was in a decent neighborhood, well-maintained, safe. The rents were reasonable because Mercer Industries didn't need to extract maximum profit from every property. How much? He asked. The manager quoted a number that was exactly within Claire's budget. Hold it, Ethan said. Don't list it yet. You have someone in mind? Maybe. Let me make a call. He hung up and immediately dialed Clara. Hey, she answered. What's up? I might have found something. A 2-bedroom in the Riverside complex. First floor, just renovated, within your budget. How did you find it? Here it was. The moment where he had to decide between complete honesty and letting her think this was luck. My company owns the building, he said. We just had a vacancy come up. Silence on the other end. Clara, your company owns apartment buildings? A few, as investments. This one's been in the portfolio for about 10 years. And you just happen to have a vacancy? Yeah, that happens sometimes. More silence. This isn't some scheme where you're secretly subsidizing my rent, is it? No, I swear it's market rate, the same as any other tenant would pay. You're sure? I'm sure. You want to see it or not? Another pause. Yeah, okay, I want to see it. The apartment was perfect. Hardwood floors, updated kitchen, windows that actually sealed properly. 2 real bedrooms with closets. A bathroom where everything worked. Living room big enough for furniture and Lily's art supplies. Clara walked through it twice, checking everything like she was expecting to find the catch. It's too good, she said finally. It's really not. It's just a normal apartment. Normal apartments don't have working heat and water pressure that doesn't suck. Then you've been living in terrible apartments. She turned to look at him. If I take this, people are going to think you're keeping me. Who cares what people think? I care. I need to be independent. I need to prove I can do this on my own. You are doing it on your own. You're paying rent with money you earned. The fact that my company owns the building doesn't change that. Clara walked to the window, looking out at the small courtyard. Lily would love it here. There's grass, other kids, a playground. Yeah. And it's within my budget. Barely, but I could make it work. So take it. She turned back to him. Promise me something. What? Promise me this is really market rate, that you're not doing something behind the scenes to make this happen. I promise. Cross my heart, this is the actual rent, same as the last tenant paid. Clara studied his face, looking for lies. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her because she nodded. Okay, I'll take it. Moving day was chaos. Ethan recruited Jake, Rachel recruited her husband, and somehow they ended up with enough people to move Claire's entire apartment in one trip, which wasn't that impressive considering how little she owned, but it felt like an accomplishment anyway. Lily directed traffic, signing instructions about where everything should go. Her bookshelf got the place of honor in her new bedroom. Actual bedroom with a door that closed and a window with a tree outside. This is way better, Jake signed to her. He'd gotten pretty good over the past few weeks. Lily signed back enthusiastically. What did she say? Ethan asked. She says her old apartment was okay, but this one has a bathtub she can actually fit in, Jake translated. Also, she wants to paint her room purple again. That can be arranged. By evening, the apartment was mostly set up. Clara's design workspace fit perfectly in the second bedroom. Lily's stuff filled her room without it feeling cramped. The living room actually had space to move around. Clara stood in the middle of it all, looking slightly overwhelmed. "You okay?" Ethan asked. "Yeah, just this is the nicest place I've ever lived, and I'm actually paying for it myself. That's a big deal for me." "I know. Thank you for telling me about it, for not making it weird." "Anytime," Rachel appeared with pizza. "Food's here, and before you argue, I'm buying. Moving day tradition." They ate sitting on the floor because Clara's furniture was still scattered around. Jake and Lily claimed the spot by the window, signing back and forth about something that involved a lot of giggling. "They're good together," Rachel observed. "Yeah," Clara agreed. It's weird how fast they bonded. Kids are like that. They either click or they don't. These two definitely clicked. After dinner, Rachel's family headed home. Jake begged to stay longer, so Ethan let him. The three kids, because somehow Rachel's daughter had gotten included too, played in Lily's room while the adults collapsed on Clara's couch. "I can't believe this is real," Clara said. "My own apartment. That I can afford, with working appliances." "You deserve it." "Do I, though?" "Yeah, you do." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Lily's birthday is this weekend." "I know. I've been planning." "Planning what?" "It's a surprise." "Ethan, a good surprise. Trust me." Clara sighed. "I'm learning to do that. Trust you. It's still weird." "How so?" "I spent so long only trusting myself. Letting someone else in it's hard." "I know. But I'm trying." "That's all anyone can do." Lily's birthday fell on a Saturday. Ethan showed up at Clara's new apartment at 9 in the morning with his truck full of supplies and a plan that Clara was definitely going to think was too much. "What is all this?" she asked, staring at the truck bed. "Birthday party supplies." "Ethan, we talked about this. Nothing crazy." "It's not crazy. It's just thorough." He started unloading decorations, a cake from the good bakery downtown, art supplies for activities, and "Is that a bouncy castle?" Clara demanded. "It's a small bouncy castle." "Where are we even putting that?" "The courtyard. I already cleared it with the property manager." "Who you work for?" "Technically, I own the company that manages this building, but yeah." Clara pressed her hands to her face. "You bought my daughter a bouncy castle." "Rented. I rented her a bouncy castle." "That's not better. She's 8 years old. 8-year-olds love bouncy castles. She's going to lose her mind." "That's the idea." Lily did, in fact, lose her mind. She saw the bouncy castle going up and started jumping up and down, signing so fast Clara couldn't keep up. "She says this is the best birthday in the history of birthdays," Clara translated, laughing. "She says you're magic. Just a guy who knows how to rent party equipment." Kids started arriving around 11. Lily's classmates, a few neighbors from the building, Jake and some of his friends. It was louder and more chaotic than Ethan had anticipated, but Lily was radiant. She moved through the party like a tiny social butterfly, making sure everyone was included, organizing games in sign language that somehow everyone understood through context and enthusiasm. "She's really something," Rachel said, watching Lily coordinate a relay race. "Yeah," Clara agreed. "She is. You did good with her." "I'm trying." "You're doing more than trying. That's a happy, confident kid. You made that happen." Clara's eyes got shiny. "I had help." She glanced at Ethan, who was currently being used as a jungle gym by 3 8-year-olds. "Yeah," Rachel said. "You did. But don't sell yourself short. Ethan showed up, but you did the work." The party wound down around 3. Parents picked up kids, the bouncy castle got deflated and hauled away, and eventually it was just their little group, Clara, Lily, Ethan, Jake, and Rachel's family. They sat in the courtyard, exhausted and happy, while the kids played quietly on the playground. "Thank you," Clara said to Ethan, "for all of this. She had the best day." "Good. That's what I was going for." "You know you didn't have to do all this, right?" "I know, but I wanted to." Rachel stood up, stretching. "We should get going. Long drive home." After they left, it was just the 4 of them. Jake and Lily were crashed on the couch, too tired to even sign at each other. "I should probably get Jake home," Ethan said reluctantly. "Or," Clara said carefully, "you could both stay, if you want." "Yeah? Yeah, I mean, you're here all the time anyway, and the kids are already half asleep. Seems easier." Easier, Ethan repeated, smiling. Shut up, you know what I mean. They put the kids to bed, Lily in her purple room, Jake on the pull-out couch in Clara's office. Then they collapsed on Clara's bed, still fully dressed, too tired to do anything but exist. Today was perfect, Clara said. Yeah? Yeah. Lily's going to remember this birthday forever. That's the idea. You're really good at this, you know. The whole showing up thing, being present, making people feel like they matter. I'm learning. You're a good teacher. Clara rolled over to face him. I love you. The words hung in the air between them. Ethan's heart stopped, then started again faster. You don't have to say it back, Clara continued quickly. I needed to say it, because it's true, and I'm tired of being scared of true things. I love you too, Ethan said. I've loved you since you showed up to our first date 45 minutes late with a wet kid and looked at me like you expected me to run. You should have run. Worst decision I never made. She laughed and kissed him, and it felt like coming home. The next few months passed in a blur of ordinary moments that felt extraordinary. Ethan taught Lily how to use a power drill under Clara's supervision. Clara taught Ethan more sign language, though he was still pretty terrible at it. Jake and Lily became inseparable, a chaotic duo that treated both apartments like their shared territory. Ethan spent less time at his office and more time at Clara's apartment. His executive team handled more of the day-to-day operations. He focused on the projects that actually interested him: design work, renovation planning, the parts of the business where he got to build things instead of just manage them. You seem different, his VP noted during a rare board meeting. Different how? Happier. Less, less trapped. I was trapped? You've been trapped since your dad died and you inherited this place. But lately you seem like you're figuring out how to live with it instead of just survive it. Ethan thought about that. Yeah, maybe I am. One evening in late fall, Ethan was helping Clara with a client presentation when his phone rang. His ex-wife. Jennifer, what's up? We need to talk about custody. His stomach dropped. What about it? I'm moving, got a job offer in Portland. Great opportunity, more money, better position. Okay, congratulations. It means relocating, which means we need to renegotiate the custody agreement. Ethan's mind raced. When? I start in January. I know this is sudden, but does Jake know? Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. After he hung up, Clara touched his arm. What's wrong? Jennifer's moving to Portland, wants to renegotiate custody. What does that mean? I don't know yet. Probably that Jake stays with me full-time and visits her some weekends. Or maybe she wants him to move with her. I don't know. Clara squeezed his hand. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. We? Yeah, we. You're not doing this alone. The conversation with Jake happened the next weekend. Jennifer came over to Ethan's house. Their house, technically, though she'd signed over her half in the divorce, and they sat Jake down together. I'm moving to Portland, Jennifer said gently, for work. It's a really good opportunity. Jake looked between them. What about me? That's what we need to figure out. You could come with me. I don't want to move. Or you could stay here with your dad and visit me. I want to stay here. Jennifer's face did something complicated. Jake, you don't have to decide right now. Yes, I do. You're moving in 2 months, and I want to stay here with Dad and Clara and Lily. Ethan's throat went tight. You sure, buddy? Yeah, I'm sure. My friends are here. My school is here. Lily's here. Jake looked at his mom. I love you, Mom. But this is my home. Jennifer wiped her eyes. Okay, then that's what we'll do. The legal stuff took a few weeks to sort out, but by Thanksgiving the new arrangement was official. Jake would live with Ethan full-time, visit Jennifer once a month and longer during summer breaks. How are you feeling about it? Clara asked Ethan one evening. Terrified. I've never been a full-time single parent before. You're not single. You've got me. We haven't. Clara looked at him. What are we, Ethan? I don't know. What do you want us to be? I want us to be a family. You, me, the kids. I want to stop pretending you don't practically live here anyway. Ethan kissed her before she could finish. When they broke apart, they were both smiling. Move in with me, he said. Which house? Because if you're suggesting we move into your mansion, no. Here. I'll move in here. This apartment. With you and Lily. Clara stared at him. You want to move into my 2-bedroom apartment? Yeah. You own a mansion. I hate that mansion. It's never felt like home. This does. Ethan, we can't fit 4 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, so we'll find a bigger place. Still in this building, still within a budget that makes sense for both of us. But together. Officially. You're serious? Completely. Clara looked around the apartment, then back at him. The kids are going to lose their minds. Good minds loss or bad minds loss? Definitely good. They told Jake and Lily the next day. Both kids reacted exactly as predicted. Lily jumped up and down, signing so fast nobody could understand her, and Jake just grinned and said, Finally, took you long enough. You knew? Ethan asked. Dad, you've been sleeping on Clara's couch like 3 nights a week. We all knew. Finding a bigger place in the same building took less time than expected. A 3-bedroom on the 2nd floor opened up. Bigger living room, updated kitchen, enough space for everyone without feeling cramped. It's still not a mansion, Clara pointed out. Good. I don't want a mansion. I want this. Moving in together was messier than Ethan expected. Combining 2 households meant figuring out whose furniture to keep, whose dishes to donate, how to merge 2 completely different lives into one space. Your coffee maker's terrible, Ethan said, looking at the ancient machine. Your coffee maker costs more than my car, Clara countered. So we keep both? That's insane. Welcome to blended families. By Christmas, they were mostly settled. The apartment was crowded and chaotic and nothing matched, but it felt right. Jake and Lily shared the bigger bedroom, bunk beds and constant arguing about who got which shelf, while Ethan and Clara took the smaller one. Ethan's mansion sat empty. He'd thought about selling it, but hadn't pulled the trigger yet. What are you going to do with it? Rachel asked during Christmas dinner. I don't know. Sell it maybe, or turn it into something useful. Like what? An idea was forming, but Ethan wasn't ready to share it yet. The idea crystallized a few weeks later when Clara mentioned her sister had called again. Still unstable, still struggling, still asking to see Lily. I told her no, Clara said. Again. How'd she take it? About the same. Lots of crying, lots of promises she can't keep. You think she'll ever get it together? I don't know. Maybe. But I can't base Lily's stability on maybes. Ethan thought about that. About people who struggled, about resources and opportunities, and how much difference the right help could make. He called a meeting with his executive team. I want to turn my house into a transition home, he said, for single parents getting back on their feet. Subsidized housing, job training programs, childcare support, everything someone would need to actually build stability. His VP blinked. That's actually a great idea. Yeah? Yeah, it's perfect. Uses the property for something meaningful, good PR for the company, and it's the kind of thing that actually helps people. I don't care about the PR. I care about helping people. Even better. It took 6 months to set everything up, converting the mansion into a proper facility, hiring staff, establishing programs. Ethan threw himself into the project, designing common spaces and figuring out how to make the space welcoming instead of institutional. Clara helped with the design work. This is really cool, she said, looking at the plans. You're basically building what I needed 2 years ago. That's the idea. Think it'll work? I hope so. Worst case, we'll figure out what doesn't work and fix it. The facility opened in July. 6 families initially, all single parents struggling to find stable ground. Ethan visited weekly, teaching carpentry workshops and helping with building maintenance. You're really good at this, one of the residents told him. Making people feel like they're not charity cases. That's because you're not. You're just people who need help. There's a difference. By fall, the program had expanded. More families, more resources, better outcomes. Ethan watched people who'd been barely surviving start to thrive and felt something shift in his chest. This was what money was for. Not for mansions he'd never use or fancy parties he'd never enjoy. For this. For making a difference that actually mattered. One evening, he came home to the apartment, their apartment, and found Clara cooking dinner while Lily and Jake did homework at the kitchen table. Hey, Clara said, kissing him. How was your day? Good, Really good. One of the families at the facility got hired full-time. Union benefits, everything. That's amazing. Yeah, it is. They ate dinner together, all four of them crammed around the too small table, arguing about whose turn it was to do dishes and whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Later, after the kids went to bed, Ethan and Clara sat on the couch with terrible wine and comfortable silence. You happy? Clara asked. Yeah, really happy. You? Really happy. She paused. You think we should make it official? Official how? Clara pulled a small box from her pocket and opened it. Inside was a simple silver band. I know traditionally the guy does this, but screw tradition. Ethan Mercer, will you marry me? Ethan stared at the ring, then at Clara, then back at the ring. You're serious? Completely. I know we've only been together for a year, and I know this isn't how it's supposed to go, but yes. Clara stopped talking. Yes? Yeah. Obviously, yes. Did you think I'd say no? I thought you might want to be the one to ask. I was working up to it. You beat me to it. She laughed and slid the ring onto his finger. It fit perfectly. How long have you been planning this? He asked. About a month. Lily helped me pick it out. Lily knew? Lily knew. Jake didn't, so you can tell him. Seemed fair. Ethan pulled her close and kissed her, tasting wine and laughter and everything that mattered. We're really doing this, he said. Yeah, we really are. They got married in the spring, small ceremony in the courtyard of their apartment building. Lily signed the vows alongside Clara while Jake held the rings. Rachel cried through the whole thing. Ethan's executive team looked vaguely confused about why their billionaire boss was getting married in an apartment complex courtyard, but they showed up anyway. This is perfect, Clara said afterward, looking around at their friends and family. Yeah? Yeah, no fancy venue, no expensive dress, just us and the people we love. Best wedding I've ever been to. It's the only wedding you've been to besides your first one. My point stands. They danced in the courtyard to music from someone's phone. Lily and Jake ran around with other kids from the building. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely right. That night, lying in bed in their cramped apartment, Clara traced the ring on Ethan's finger. You could have had anyone, she said quietly. Someone without all my baggage and complications. I didn't want anyone else. I wanted you. Why? Because you saw me. Not my money, not my name, not what I could do for you. Just me. That's all I ever wanted. I see you, Clara said. I see all of you. The guy who builds furniture and teaches kids to use power tools and converted his mansion into a transition home. That's who I see. That's who I want to be. Then be that. You don't need permission. She was right. He'd spent so long being who everyone expected him to be that he'd forgotten he could choose differently. The next year was full of changes. Ethan promoted his VP to CEO, kept his position as board chair but stepped away from day-to-day operations. He focused on the transition home, expanding the program to 2 more properties. Clara's design business grew as word spread about her work. She raised her rates, stopped taking jobs that didn't respect her, and finally felt like she was doing work that mattered instead of just surviving. Jake and Lily grew like weeds. 4th grade, 5th grade, new schools and new challenges. They fought like siblings and defended each other like siblings and made it clear to everyone that they were a package deal. Some days were hard. Money was sometimes tight, even with Ethan's resources. The kids got sick, work got stressful, the apartment felt too small. But they figured it out together. That was the thing nobody told you about family, Ethan realized. It wasn't about being perfect. It wasn't about having all the answers or never struggling. It was about showing up anyway, about building something real even when it was hard. One evening, almost 2 years after that first coffee shop date, Ethan stood in the apartment kitchen making dinner while Clara worked on a client presentation at the table. Lily was in her room doing homework. Jake was at baseball practice. It was completely ordinary, completely normal, and it was everything he'd never known he needed. Hey, Clara said, looking up from her laptop. I love you. I love you too. Good. Just wanted to make sure. Ethan smiled and went back to chopping vegetables. Through the window, he could see the courtyard where they'd gotten married, where Lily had her 8th birthday party, where 100 small, ordinary moments had built a life worth living. His phone buzzed, a text from the transition home director. Just wanted to update you. The family in Unit 3 got approved for permanent housing. They're moving out next month. All 3 kids will be in the same school district. They're crying happy tears. Ethan showed Clara the message. That's amazing, she said, her eyes bright. Yeah, it really is. That night, after the kids were asleep and the apartment was quiet, Ethan thought about the path that had led him here. A failed marriage, a company he'd never wanted, a blind date he'd almost skipped, and a woman who showed up 45 minutes late with a wet kid and changed everything. Some people spent their whole lives chasing the wrong things. Money, status, the appearance of success. Ethan had learned what actually mattered was simpler than that. It was showing up, being present, building something real with your hands instead of your wallet. It was knowing that family wasn't about blood or legality or perfect circumstances. It was about choosing each other day after day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. It was understanding that being wealthy meant nothing if you were poor in the things that counted: love, connection, purpose. Clara shifted in her sleep, moving closer. Through the thin walls, Ethan could hear Lily's soft humming, that tuneless sound she made when she was happy. In the other room, Jake's dinosaur book lay open on his bed, marked at the page about pterodactyls. This was home. Not the mansion he'd sold to fund more transition homes, not the corner office he rarely visited anymore. This crowded apartment with mismatched furniture and 2 small rooms. This. And finally, after 34 years of searching, Ethan understood what he'd been looking for all along. Not someone to save. Not a project to fix. Not a way to prove his worth. Just someone to build a life with. One day, one dinner, one small moment at a time. Someone who saw him for who he actually was and decided that was enough. And in the end, that was everything.